Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I blow soon, soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room, room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my lower, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate with like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I blow soon, soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room, room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a ghost. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones are down and I dare to show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shootin' this brace, I'm going in a new gig, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Ayy, just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone.
Coach, what's next for me, Joe? I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Space shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working, I'm up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, hey, on a roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On a roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mafia, we got a pushback. We got a little bit of a retracement into some local Fibonacci retracement levels, but we are currently holding that key level of support, which is that 786, guys. If you watch the market update that I dropped earlier today, you will know that 786 is going to be the line in the sand, where if broken, I will be looking down to lower prices. So I'm going to cover current price action. We'll cover all the key levels with you guys. What I'm expecting next here for Bitcoin, we'll take a look at the money flow, and yeah, we'll try to see if we can avoid that push to the downside, guys. But as I talked about in the market update, money flow on the higher time frame still pointing to the downside. There is an absolute battle bouncing off this 786, fighting the local resistance, an absolute battle. So I'm going to break down everything for you guys. We'll show some trades, and I'll talk about kind of my exact trading plan and what I'm expecting next here on price action. So shout out to the CandleMafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys for being here. Shout out to Multi-Sig Dummy. Said, oh my God, the big bad bear. Shout out to Multi-Sig Dummy. And shout out to the Mafia. If you guys have been... Oh, no, we're frozen here, guys. I am frozen on OBS. Okay, hopefully we're still live. If you guys, let me hang on one sec, guys. Let me go ahead and quit some stuff here real quick so I can free up. Hopefully we stop lagging now. I just closed a bunch of stuff. But guys, if you watched yesterday's live stream or last week's live stream, you will know we were anticipating this drop to the downside. I'm not going to go too much over that because we covered that yesterday. But as we are getting an attempt at a bounce here on a local level, guys, we'll look at the money flow and talk about that potential continuation down. But shout out to Multi-Sig Dummy. We got Jack in the chat. K Diggity. Shout out to K Diggity. Phoebe says hi. What is going on, K Diggity? Welcome in. We got Base Bailey in the chat, said Frozen Frankie. We should be good, guys. I had to close some stuff on the PC. Let's see. We got Eugene Sky. What is going on? Said, man, almost hit my 116K TP, or he said PT, but he said but. Yikes. But yeah, I'll talk about a potential continuation up here, guys. But again, money flow is not looking that good as of right now. Let's see. Shout out to Bear Market Blues Brother. Yo, shout out to you, man. Said, nothing wrong with the bear market. That's where we get cheap assets. Now is when you cash out. Shout out to Bear Market Blues Brother. Yes, absolutely. Especially in the CandleMafia here. Not only do you get great opportunities at some cheap prices, but you also will have an opportunity to make a killing on the way down. But however, I wouldn't necessarily be calling bear market just yet. But yeah, we'll go over everything with you guys. AR Perez, welcome in, bro. Thank you for being here. Let's see, we got Golden Child in the chat, Crypto Billy in the chat, guys. I will be on Billy Goat Tales tonight at 8 p.m. right after the live stream. We will be there. I'm not 100% sure exactly what we're talking about, but it's going to be a good time. Meet us over there. And yeah, shout out to Crypto Billy. I'm looking forward to it, man. We got Rob the Crypto and the Snob in the chat, guys. Show our mods some love. They help us out endlessly with this YouTube channel. So if you love them as much as we do, show them some love in the chat by smashing that like button. Shout out to Jesse, our like police. But yeah, smash up that like button if you guys appreciate the free content. And without further ado, let's go ahead. And let me go ahead and clear this chart up a little bit. I don't want to scare everybody with all these key levels. But let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So here we are, guys. Obviously, no shocker here for this drop to the downside. Not that we made a new low or anything, but obviously we did get a little bit of a bounce here off our structural highs that we were looking at the beginning of our key level to the downside that we were looking at last week, sitting at about $112,000 directly on top of this structure down here, literally at almost $112,000 even. That was the beginning of our first major key level of support. We did get the nice little bounce from there, a little bit of a push to the upside, but as we looked at yesterday, guys, overall, our higher time frame money flow, this is the one thing that I am looking at to keep an eye out for the potential opportunity to continue this downtrend to some lower prices, and that all has to do with the high time frame money flow. We were looking at the 12-hour money flow yesterday as we were getting a little kick to the upside, but letting you know that sometimes, guys, when you get those little kicks up on money flow, it could just be a lower high, which at least at this moment does look like we are just putting in another lower high here. We also have a fresh red dot on the 12-hour printing, so unless we see this 12-hour fake out like crazy and rip us back to the upside, scam money flow back into the green. I would say higher time frame money flow is still trending to the downside, indicating a potential continuation of the downtrend, pushing us deeper into this level of support that we looked at on the market update a little bit earlier today. And yeah, I mean, this is just the direction of money flow, guys. This is something we have to take at face value. And I would say, I mean, not even really my opinion, but if you just look at this from a logical standpoint, right, we are clearly making lower highs. Again, can you get a fake out here? Potentially. But again, that would be betting against the TA. You're kind of just like fighting against the money flow. You know, a fake out could happen, but it's not something that we can accurately predict. So I am just going to stick here with my sentiment. High time frame money flow coming out could indicate that we are going to get a little bit of a bigger retracement here. I will talk about the bullish scenario as well if we could sneak on out here. But I would just say higher time frame money flow, even the 10-hour money flow still in the red here. And yesterday, guys, just to kind of show this, if you're paying attention to Market Cipher B, if you use Market Cipher B, yesterday on the 4-hour money flow, right? Well, I'll actually just bring you back to when we were bing-bonging around in this range, right? You have this sideways range, but, you know, how did we know that there was a high probability? Like, why were we looking for this break to the downside? It all had to do with the 4-hour money flow trending to the downside and the fact that not only was money flow trending out over time, but we also had a pretty significantly large money flow wave that stayed in the green for quite some time as we bing-bonged around up here. But as that money flow trends out, it does make it a lot more likely to see that bigger drop out of that range to push down to some lower prices. And you can see that first money flow crossover did happen right over here. And then we did finally get that full crossover, which did give us that continuation down as we expected. And then yesterday, we did get some turbulence here, right? We had that money flow popping back into the green. But again, looking at this as a potential fake out into the green. And why is that? Well, it's because if you come up to the higher time frames, right, that high time frame money flow is going to kind of delete some of that noise, right? The lower time frames will kind of bing bong up and down with the money flow. You'll get a lot more fake outs on the lower time frames than the higher time frames. So when you come onto the 12-hour, it's like, this is generally trending to the downside. So there was an opportunity to see that fake out on money flow. And what happens, right? You fake out into the green, right back into the red. Same thing on the 8-hour, right? 8-hour money flow started to come up, but we looked at that as, you know, hey, we're not even crossing into the green just yet. You know, this could easily, once we get that 8-hour red dot, drag us back into the red, which is exactly what we saw happen. So just kind of sticking with that trend of money flow, continuing out, just keeping that, keeping my eyes looking through the market, through the lens of that potential continuation down happening, right? Doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but I would say that is the direction that money flow is pointing. And now the question is kind of how is this going to work itself out, right? We got the nice bounce off our first key level of support, got a little bounce to the upside, which was going to be looked at as lackluster before a lower high. Excuse me. Looked at as a lower high for a lower low to potentially come in. Now, whether we put the lower high in on our local fib, which is where we're rejecting from right now, or if we had to come up and reject some of these more local Fibonacci retracements, you have a little bit of a more significant retracement up here closer to 116 to 117.5. And, you know, we don't know whether we're going to get the rejection here or at those higher fib levels, but I would say over time, whether that lower high comes in at the level that we rejected, which was not only the Fibonacci retracement, but for what it's worth, guys, we also had the daily MPOC sitting up there as well that we tapped like almost perfectly. But and I'm going to talk about this next daily MPOC that we're playing with right now. This is absolutely key to stay above, but I'll bring that up in a minute. But, you know, we don't know, right? Is it going to be an aggressive continuation of the downtrend? You know, technically, this is an area where you could potentially see that lower high come in. We did have the Golden Pocket 786 retracement. Whoops. Come on. Golden Pocket 786 retracement. Whoops. We came on in there, right? We got the rejection. We're pushing down from there right now. So definitely an opportunity to put in an aggressive lower high. But we're kind of in a pickle here, right? You're rejecting the Golden Pocket 786, but you also are holding your Golden Pocket 786 to the downside. And I did take a little bit of a scalp long here, as I showed in the market update earlier today. I did take this with the premium Discord. Not really expecting a whole lot out of this. And the reason for that, guys, is because we have this very key level of resistance above, which is that daily NPOC. If we are unable to reclaim this daily naked point of control, guys, I would consider that more bearish, which could, you know, point to the idea that maybe our lower high did come in here, and we could be pushing down to some of these lower key levels of support, right? Now, this doesn't necessarily make me uber bearish forever, right? We do still have some key levels down below us. Maybe I'll cover more of the bearish case as well. But, you know, you guys kind of know where I stand with my macro outlook on the market. I do believe, right, in September, if we can get those rate cuts, we are likely to see that final phase of the bull market to come in. You know, hopefully, alt season will come in at that point as well. But as of right now, with this drop to the downside, I wouldn't say there's really anything to worry about. We've just come down to retest structure here, and we still have those extra key levels of support down here, leading us down to the next technical level. This is where the line in the sand comes, right? When I put, you know, Bitcoin, you know, make or break situation, right? It is for a very specific reason, right? Because this 786 is going to be the make or break here locally, right? If we lose this 786, I will be looking for a crack of structure to the downside, breaking this low, which puts our next key level of support sitting down here at 111,000. $120, right? Now, this is, I'm going to drag this like I did down in, if you watch the market update, I did this. We've already bounced off the structure highs here, so I'm going to drag this down to our next key level, which really does, the zone sits between the daily MPOC and this value area high. This is that kind of larger zone of support that we have been looking at ever since before we broke down out of this range. We said, hey, if money flow's coming out, it looks like we could go for that retracement. We got the initial break out of the range. It wouldn't be that unexpected to see either a retest of those structure highs or even a little bit of a dig deeper into some of these key support levels to retest before finally getting that last leg to the upside. Now, again, the last leg to the upside is not guaranteed, but this is going to be the area that would be likely for that to happen at, right? Structure highs, if we break this 786, which sits at, again, $112,660. Once we lose this 786, guys, the idea, because right now what it's looking like is you have the local low, the high, and then a potential higher low locally to continue your local uptrend here. But this would not change my overall kind of longer-term outlook, right? Even if we do get this to play out, we do have to be very careful around this range resistance because, we could, again, the bigger retracement levels are still sitting a bit higher here. So even if we do get this continuation up, which, again, money flow is not really pointing towards a large continuation here, but if we did get it, right, with that high time frame money flow on the 12-hour, even the 8-hour, continuing into the red here like we looked at yesterday, I'd have to look at any bounce to be a lackluster retracement for lower highs and lower lows. This has been my sentiment all week, or since yesterday, and it's going to remain the same until this money flow decides to fix itself, right? Doesn't mean we can't catch those little scalp longs. I personally have not even taken profit on this. I'm just going to hold this with my stop loss. Hopefully, it plays out. If not, I'll take a small loss. I am also holding my short position. I'll bring up the trades in a minute. I'm still holding my short position here from, I think, 117.7 right before the breakdown. So I am still holding that. I'll stop out of the short for long for small loss, right? And then that short will continue to pay me out. And again, I'll bring those up in just a minute. But, this is kind of the situation that we're in. I would say long term, right, with the money flow coming out, it is definitely not impossible to see this continuation down, guys. Whether the lower high is here or we want to come up for one more stab at a bigger lower high before coming down, if that money flow continues to the downside, this is going to be the higher probability scenario in my own personal opinion. And I will go over the bullish case. I'll try to give some hopium if you're looking for some kind of massive rip to the upside. Obviously, anything can happen. It would be going against the overall trend on money flow, which is right much more than it's wrong. And remember, money flow is exactly how we anticipated the breakdown of this range before it happened, right? It's not a crystal ball, although some people think we have one. Maybe we do. I'm not going to say that. But, when we see this, right, the 4-hour money flow was the clear signal that we were looking at, right? And you see that play out. So it's the same thing. That 12-hour money flow crosses into the red. You bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to put the higher probability on the lower highs and the lower lows, whether it comes in here or up at these higher levels. I will go over the upper levels very briefly here, but this is right now 786, 112,660 is the biggest level to remain above. If we lose that level locally, guys, I would say it is looking a bit more bearish for that bigger drop into our support level between 111,120 all the way down to about 110K at the value area high. I personally would not like to break down below this high, right? This would be kind of decent because you could come down. You're retesting the value area high. That's not a super uncommon situation. Once we start breaking down in here, this is where it gets a little bit more dangerous, in my opinion, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm not necessarily saying it's the bear market, but, you're really starting to run out of, like, the really nice levels to bounce off of. I would say 108 to 107K is kind of that last line in the sand. If that gets lost, guys, I'm going to have to take a longer-term view on this while looking at the macro volume profile, as we've covered time and time again. I'll turn off the daily MPOC so it doesn't confuse everybody, right? We start losing that 100. If we wind up coming down here, we start losing 110K, getting accepted inside that value area, and push down towards that lower zone, right, below that golden pocket. I'll pull it up really briefly here, right? Whoops. Where's it at? Right here, right? You start losing this golden pocket. You really want to bounce here, right? Because if you lose this and you start coming down below 105,750, at that point, guys, you are potentially getting accepted into your larger macro value area high, which, as we've covered many a times recently on the live stream, this could cause a much bigger drop to the downside. This is not necessarily my base case, right? I do still think, right, there is opportunity to bounce off these next key levels. But, when we see these levels on the chart, we understand not only how important these levels are, but the context of them, right? This is not just a key level of support, right? If we had to dip down to 105, 106K, like, you don't want to spend much time down here, right? Because you slip below that value area high. I have to look down towards that POC, right? Anytime you lose the value area high, the doorway to the POC is open. We didn't grab it here. We didn't grab it here. I would say, once we get back underneath there, I am going to be a little bit more bearish medium term. Now, would that mean bear market? Not necessarily, guys. Again, if we have rate cuts coming in September, we have a little bit of time to bing bong around, correct, range around, have some wonky price action before those rate cuts could come in. And that's assuming they come in, guys. If those rate cuts do not come in, the market will react off of that, right? And it'll likely cause much more downside. And this is just the reality of the market. My base case here is we are finishing up the final leg of the bull market. Hopefully we can put in that last all-time high, get the rate cuts, see alt season. That is like best case scenario, but it would be, I would be doing an injustice if I was not looking at the other side of the coin, right? We don't just say like, oh, we're bullish on every single dump, right? Once you lose that key level of support, it's like, it becomes less and less likely that you're going to get that bigger bounce to the upside. And again, I wouldn't necessarily call this the bear market, right? I know a lot of people will be very scared if we get that drop to the downside. Just understand from like a super high time frame scenario. Also, you have to understand, right? We have a lot of new, potential news events that can affect price, right? On the positive and the negative end. All it takes is one news story to create a completely move in the opposite direction, whether that's to the upside or the downside. And who knows, right? Like, if we see some kind of black swan event or something, obviously this is going to turn out to be much more bearish. But, from a timing perspective, from a cycle perspective, even from a technical perspective, there's nothing to worry about just yet. But we are starting to get down to the levels where we really want to start getting those bounces, if I'm just being totally honest. And I don't love the way that this 12-hour money flow looks, right? Especially because we did indeed put in that lower high. And hopefully if you guys watched yesterday, you could kind of see like, oh, okay, cool. We have money flow coming up. You might see that as like a bullish signal, right? But overall, it's just that trend to the downside continuing. And again, I don't really like betting against money flow here. So that's kind of the bearish case, right? Again, plenty of room to bounce. We have some key levels below us, but just watch 105,742, guys. If we start losing that level, it's going to start to get a little bit more sticky. And, when we start looking at like major retracement levels, pull it from here at about $98,182. You can see we do have golden pocket confluence on that value area high. So I'll just pull that right here between 108K and 105.6, right? And that does come very close to the other levels that we looked at. This is the same golden pocket within this local range that we just looked at, right? Same exact golden pocket. You also have the POC. You also have a daily MPOC in there, right? Right in there. You have daily MPOCs above it, daily MPOCs inside of it. And I believe we also have a weekly MPOC. No, I'm tripping, guys. So daily MPOC, golden pocket value area high. This is the significance of this move, right? Or of this level, I should say, right? It's okay to come down and wheel around down here, but you really want to start getting going. And you might say to yourself, like we looked at yesterday, right? Like, well, what about the 786, Frankie? Isn't that another area where we can get the bounce from? Yes, it totally is. However, if you get the bounce off there, you're now below all this resistance, which does make me feel a bit more bearish. And the fact that this is a value area high and could be opening up the door if accepted into the range to the POC, we have to understand this is not just resistance. This is major, important, contextual, if that's a word, resistance, right? So that's why I say I would really prefer to get a quicker bounce off this first zone, not really losing 107K, right? You got, value area high at 105.7, sure. But again, that is like a really key level. So, if we have to come down here, we'll deal with the situation as it develops. Maybe we'll see money flow looking super good down here. It really depends. If money flow is just continuing out here, we'll have a good idea of whether we're going to get that bounce off the golden pocket or if it's going to be a rejection back down to 97K. But, I don't want to cause fear. My goal is not to cause fear here. It's not to create FOMO. It's to give you a logical view on the market and where we sit from a technical perspective. And right now, we are simply just bouncing off those structure highs, which is really nothing to worry about as of right now. But if we get the bigger drop, which money flow is pointing to, I want you guys to be aware of these bigger levels and be prepared for them. I will be looking for longs down here. And hey, if I get stopped out of the long position here for a small loss, short will continue to pay me out on the way as well. So there you go. That's kind of the macro outlook. Again, my general sentiment, final leg of the bull market is probably incoming pretty soon. But the question is there going to be some kind of crazy shenanigans that happens here that scares everybody before we finally get that move? I would say it's probably likely, just because, to be honest, guys, anytime I look at the charts, we'll take a look at Ethereum here as well. But when you look at the charts here, guys, it's like it almost seems, right? Like if I were just looking at this from a very simple perspective of like, hey, we have the range highs perfectly right here. It's like, what are the chances that we just get the beautiful breakout, right? You get the retest, the beautiful breakout with follow through, and then you get a perfect retest for a massive rip back to the upside. It almost looks a little too clean, in my opinion, at this point. Now that money flow is pointing against it, I would just be prepared for that last little scare to the downside. And then if we break those next big key levels I just went over, we'll have to start looking at some lower levels and reassess our situation and kind of figure out, we'll keep an eye on the Fed watch tool, see how likely those rate cuts are. This percentage right now is about 85%, I think, still for a rate cut to come in. This will change very likely leading up to those rate cuts. But I never just want to sit up here and say, like, just because it seems like the final leg of the bull market is coming in, that it's guaranteed. This is the camp that I fall into, and I will continue to operate from that perspective. But, that doesn't mean that the opposite case can't play out, right? It's just like when we came down here to when we got the drop down to 75K, right? Did I think this was the bear market? Absolutely not. I was very explicit about that. It was a very key level, massive bullish confirmations. We were looking for the higher low and the higher high, but even down here, guys, we have lines in the sand, right? We have lines in the sand that, if broken, would make me change my sentiment. Because right here, there's no reason to worry, right? We actually did get the perfect retest, basically, of those highs before coming into a new all-time high. But, if we wound up breaking below these levels and some of the key levels we had down below, it would be looking a little bit more bearish. So we have to change our sentiment. We're not just going to hope for bounces if they're less probable, right? But at this point, they were probable. So we're kind of in a very similar situation. I kind of wanted to compare that because we've been comparing this price action for this last dump down to 75K before a new all-time high. We've been comparing this kind of situation, right, to the exact situation that we're in here, right? You get the big breakout, the consolidation, the dump, and hopefully a higher low and a higher high to push us into new all-time highs. Again, to finish off the final phase of the bull market. And as soon as things change, guys, I'll be the first person to let you know and keep you updated with the market updates, the live streams, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's my overall outlook. I'm going to jump into the lower time frames and kind of show you guys, if we get a push up here, what are those key levels I'm looking at, and what is, if there is a bull case, right, where we can just kind of snap off here and come into higher prices, what is the roadmap for that? Again, based off money flow, I would say that would be the lower probability outcome, but I'm going to cover it with you guys in case we see some kind of a surprise pop up in the markets. Let me take a sip here of this Waterloo real quick, and let's jump into chat really quick. Let's see. Dave Digital says 125K, 100K, and then 145K. I wouldn't hate that, Dave. I would not hate that. Let's see. Shout out to Dave Digital. Drop those double Ds in the chat if you got those emojis, baby. Let's go. Shout out to Golden for gifting the memberships. Let's see. We got Jay Violet in the chat. What is going on? Nirvana says rate cuts happening, homies. Let's go. I'm not going to lie, guys. Those rate cuts are something that we absolutely need. So just understand that, right? If there's no rate cuts, it's going to affect the market for sure. But your boy Frankie Candles will be here to guide you every step of the way. So let's take a look here at the lower time frames. Obviously, we do have our current range that we have been looking at. Let me pull up an actual Bitcoin chart here. Bada boom, hide the daily MPOCs. I'll pull up the current range. So let's assume, right, get this off the chart. I'll get rid of this. And look at the bounce off that 786. Just boop. Right? So I'll cover the key levels of resistance, which are the same as yesterday, guys. Right? We did not get all the way up to this Fibonacci retracement. You might say to yourself, why is that? Well, we just rejected a more local Fibonacci retracement. Right? We never know whether we're going to reject this one, or potentially come up here and reject the macro Fibonacci retracement. But at this moment, right, if we do, the reason why I did look for a long position down here, guys, we were waiting for this in the premium Discord. And the reason for this is just like this is the lowest we would want price to retrace to get a local higher low. Your low, your high, your higher low for a potential continuation up. And again, I would still be looking at this as potentially lackluster for lower highs and lower lows if money flow does not start to shape up here very soon. So just keep that in mind, right? This is like, oh my God, we might go up, right? But longer term, it could still be a situation where it's just a macro retracement for a lower high and a lower low. This money flow crossing into the red on the 12-hour could potentially indicate that, right? But that doesn't mean we can't take those long positions off that 786 and capitalize on the way up, right? So that's why that level is so key. If we lose that 786, this invalidates the idea of the higher low, and we would look to crack structure to the downside, again, bringing us to that $111,000 daily MPOC, right? So just to make that crystal clear. Right now, just honorable mention, this daily MPOC closing. If we could close a daily candle above this MPOC, it may be a higher probability that we get a bigger retracement to the upside. But I will say this, guys. Again, like money flow, just I don't want to like make it sound too bullish here, right? I'm just looking for a local trend to the upside. If this trend continues up, again, that lower high is still potentially in the cards. So that big key level of resistance I will be looking at just naturally will be the value area low with the golden pocket 786 retracement and our anchored VWAP coming in here as well. A lot of resistance sitting there above, sitting between about 116,171 and 117,367, right? So this would be the next area if the lower high is not going to come in here, right, for the lower low. We could look for that bigger continuation up. This would be the next highest probability and biggest resistance level to look for another lower high at. This is very similar to that price action that we saw back here, right? We covered this constantly, right, over the past few days, right? Same thing here. You break down out of the range. You get a nice retracement to the upside, right? But what happens? You come up, and you reject that golden pocket 786, which did break you into your value area very, very briefly here, guys. So be aware of this, right? You could break back into that value area, but what is money flow doing here in this case? Money flow is coming out. That indicates the trend is likely to continue down, continuing your high, your low, your lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. That is going to be the anticipation, right? Doesn't mean you can't capitalize on this move up, but you have to understand the longer term context, right? And more often than not, I know it can sometimes get confusing. When you get above that value area low of the range, you might be saying to yourself, well, Frankie, isn't that usually the level that if held can give us the rotation of the profile? Yes, but you have to keep in mind the higher time frame money flow, which was coming out here. And if it is the same thing, if we come up here locally and we see that money flow coming out, we could very easily see something like that where we put a lower high in, again, on that golden pocket 786 value area low, and potentially the last big level that I will look at, if we can push up above that, is going to be the point of control of the range at about $118,000, right? We have another Fibonacci retracement in here as well, right? So I would say this is sitting between about $118,000, right? 118 to 118.3. We have the POC of the range, daily MPOC, and the Fibonacci retracements. I would say if you can get that push up, very, very careful around this resistance, but if you and the POC as well, if you could flip that POC, I think that's where you can look for a sweep of the liquidity above these highs, right? Bitcoin loves to take the liquidity, but you have to get above 118K for that to be the case, right? In my own personal opinion. Liquidity acts as a magnet, and I think flipping that point of control at 118.3, 118.4 could get you close enough to that where price might just want to come up and sweep out that liquidity. And hey, maybe we could push off into all-time highs if we do get that, if we can get that squeeze action to the upside. But again, this is kind of far away. If we do come up there, we'll reassess the situation. We'll very likely be able to identify based off money flow and the just signals that we're seeing on the candles whether we're going to get a rejection here or just squeeze back to the upside into new all-time highs. So that's my basis, right? That's my bias here. High time frame money flow coming out, so you have to be cautious on those bounces. And again, I always will point you back to previous price action where we looked for the exact same thing. And in this case, it did play out exactly as we predicted, right? So unless, if we had come up here, right, and we started holding this as support and money flow started crossing back into the green, then maybe you could look for the full rotation, right? But just be aware. Very, very similar situation. Not only for the breakdown of the range, which is part of the reason why we were able to predict this drop down, right, but also on this retracement. I would say, like, if we were comparing this from a structure standpoint, we are somewhere, in here, right? Trying to come back up towards that value area low. Question is, will it be a bearish retest for a much bigger drop to the downside, or are we going to be able to crack that 118K level and take that liquidity? I would say right now, highest probability, probably the lower high. So that's what I'm looking at. If things change, I'll keep you guys updated. But as I said, I am in that scalp long from the 786, also holding my short position. Let me see if I can pull these up real quick. So here's the long position, up 509 right now. This has been quite a wild ride. We kind of just bing-bonged around here, back to entry, almost back to entry, almost back to entry, and we're just fighting, absolutely fighting to stay in that long position, holding above that daily MPOC at $113,673. We got to hold this as support, guys, in order to see that bigger continuation up to our next key level. And I am also longs over on Blowfin, but I also am still holding my short position here over on Femex. Still locked in profits, stop loss in profit, still got 1,300, almost 1,400 unrealized. So I'm nice and covered here on both situations here. So if I stop out of the short, I'll get stopped out for some extra profit. If I get stopped out of the long, I'll get stopped out for a small loss, and that short will continue to pay me out. So that's how I'm handling the price action, guys. Those are the trades. That's what I'm looking at. And hopefully, I would hope for a fake out on money flow as much as anybody else would. But again, when you see the money flow coming out like this, you can't ignore it, right? I would love to see the fake out, but it's very hard to predict that. So there you go. Let me jump into chat real quick. Let me see what we got going on in here. Shout out to Sarah said, do we think we're going lower? Sarah, money flow would point towards that. Again, context is important. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to go down in a straight line from here. But even if we get that bigger retracement, right? High time frame money flow could be pointing towards the lower high and the lower low unless something changes here, right? Trading is a game of trapping, right? Not a game of hunting. So it's if this then that. If we come up here and we get bearish confirmations, we will probably look for the lower high and lower low. If we get up here and the money flow is starting to shape up, low time frames are turning around, maybe we can look for a little bit of a bigger push up. But I would say really first zone that you should be paying attention to, in my opinion, not financial advice, right? Next level of resistance. I mean, not that this is financial advice. This is resistance on the chart. I could say that factually. 116,171 to 117,367. And then your last level before looking up to take that liquidity above the highs would be sitting at 118 to 118,368. So hopefully we can get out of here, guys. Hopefully we can get out of here. Let's see. Hopefully the midnight airdrop gets ADA going. Need to get above 80 cents. We will take a look at Cardano tonight. We'll take a look at some of the altcoins, some other altcoins as well. Let's see. Shout out to Jay Violet, said I slipped on a wet bathroom floor. What is up with the Mafia getting into, like, accidents? Shout out to Jay Violet. I don't know if you're joking or serious, but if you are serious, hopefully you're okay. Dang. Sounds like a lawsuit to me. But anyway, let's see. 150K top this year. Shout out to Bling. Yeah, I mean, my base, my longer-term scenario or my longer-term base case here, guys, is, regardless of whatever chop we have to figure out here, if we do put in that new all-time high, the big key levels I will be looking at, right, locally, right, that first major level that I would be looking at to the upside would be sitting at, let's pull up those Fibonacci extensions, right? Between 125, 120, I would say 125K first. That's a psychological level. And then this Fibonacci extension zone does sit at this point between 125, 954 up to about 130K. My longer term bull market targets, right? I am not going to hold my Bitcoin just for 200K or 150K, just, thinking that there's for some reason a guarantee that we get there. Obviously, I am a trader. I'm a technical trader at that. So, as we push into key levels of resistance, I will always be reassessing the situation. Let me hide some of this stuff. And just to show you those longer-term kind of price targets, right? We have already come into our first bull market target up here between about $92,000 and $102,000. We bing-bonged around, bull market correction. We flipped it up. Where'd we go? Right into our next extension level at $122,805, right? If I thought the top was coming in here, I would say, hey, I think the top is coming in, right? I am never just going to sit here and wait for 150, 200K just because I think it's likely to happen. We have some levels up here in the 200s, right? We do have a Fibonacci retracement here or extension level at 155K. So you do have the technical targets there, but there's nothing about this technical target sitting here that would make it a guarantee that we get there, right? That's just not how the market moves. But for me personally, I will be looking for the next big zone if we break out into the highs between, again, about $125,000 to $137,000. If it looks like there's a top coming in here, guys, if I think the top is coming in here, I have to react off that, right? I have to react off of, if we get in here and the chart looks like a top is forming, that's where the top is probably going to come in, right? I'm going to just say, if this looks really toppy, I'm not just going to say, but we didn't hit 155K, right? We have to hit that next target. Not necessarily. Now, if we get up here and things look good for a continuation, then we would just look for that next big resistance level to be $150,000 to $155,000. So yeah, you do have the technical target up there. No guarantee that we get up there, but it is a target that I'm watching. But we got to get through this major level of resistance, and we've already, rejected that extension level to the dollar, right? But for me personally, I will be hopefully, at least looking for something like this up in here, even if we had to top out up here, final phase of the bull market here. And, I won't get too big into the higher time frames, but, we just might have a little more working around to do here. And then if we start breaking some really, really key levels and it looks like, hey, bear market territory, I'll be the first person to let you guys know. So there you go. And we are getting I have these top indicators, right? Distance, these are measuring the distance from the halving to the tops in all different cycles. And you can see, I don't remember the exact dates here, right? But like one of the tops came in about 441 days after the halving. We had another top come in 525 days after the halving. And then we had one come in 364 days after the halving, which... this wouldn't make sense because these are the same distances. But I would just say from a timing perspective, we pulled up the Fibonacci time chart that I have here. Might have deleted this last night if I'm being honest. Let me see if I could pull this up because this is interesting to look at, right? When we look at the Fibonacci time, there is a date here, right? Right around October. Let me pull up a higher time frame. Right, this 1-to-1 Fibonacci time level sits, or I don't know if I'd call this a level, but this 1-to-1 time fib sits at about on October 19th, right? And the last bull market topped out right on this 1-to-1 fib, right? Doesn't mean it has to happen to the day, but I will be paying very, very close attention to this date on October 19th of this year, right? It would make a lot of sense, right? You work your way out here, maybe you get a little freak out. You get the rate cuts in September. You get the final parabolic move, right? Altcoins start moving. Alt season hopefully starts. And then, even the altcoins can run a little bit past the top there. But, I'm not just saying that the top has to come in on this date, but definitely something I'm paying attention to from a technical perspective, right? Not just like, oh, this happened in the past. I feel like this cycle will end at this date, right? It is all based off technical information. Again, doesn't make it 100% probable, but, you're going to be much better off going with the charts, in my opinion, more often than not. So there you go. That's kind of my long-term outlook. 150K, definitely in the cards, but definitely not the first level that I'll be looking at. So there you go. Let's see. Shout out to Golden Child said, weren't alts like well on their way up by this point in the bull market before? Yeah, shout out to Golden Child. This bull market has just generally been Bitcoin focused. And I do think I've talked about this a few different times, right? I think a part of the reason why we've seen this is just the macroeconomic environment, right? The macroeconomic conditions were just more fit for Bitcoin to go on the run here. And again, it's the rate cuts. It's also like many other things, right? We look at the RTY, which is essentially, it's the Russell 2000, but this is essentially the like the altcoin market for stocks, right? It's like the 2000 lower cap stocks. And almost every other alt season that we've had, maybe every single other alt season we've had, we've gotten a big breakout on this, right? And we have not seen that yet. So if we do get it, and what's kind of nice here is that we are coming into a macro retracement level here, right? We have the golden pocket and the value area high. Golden pocket and the 786. So, could this be an area to reject from? Yes, but it also gives you that line in the sand. We start cracking above that 786, you might be able to see the RTY start to break out, which would likely find its way into crypto, right? And specifically the altcoin market, right? We just haven't seen that happen this cycle. So, history does rhyme, but it doesn't always repeat one-to-one. So that's kind of my thought process. Is there a possibility? I know a lot of people are thinking like no alt season. Is this possible? I do think it's, it's a possibility, right? It's, in my opinion, it's a little less likely of a possibility, but it's definitely not impossible. But I would say on the RTY, like 2305, right? Like this is kind of the level that you want to start breaking out of to see a bigger pop up. And again, that would leak its way into the altcoin market very likely, or at least that's what we've seen in the past. So yeah, those are just some things that I'm looking at. And again, we can't ignore the high time frame red dots that we've seen on Bitcoin as well. They would be calling for a bigger retracement to the downside, right? We just confirmed that weekly red dot this weekend. And it's also a bearish divergence, right? So, last weekly bear div we had from this high to this high, higher highs on our price action, lower highs on our momentum waves. Was this the top of the bull market? No, right? Did we think this was the top of the bull market? No. But it was a weekly bearish divergence, and what happened? We did get a bit of a pull to the downside, but what happened wasn't the bear market. We did wind up putting in that new all-time high. Not all weekly bear divs are going to be treated equal, right? But we do have that weekly bear div with the red dot confirmed, right? So there's just a few different things that could be pointing towards more downside here, which is why I'm prepared, right? Doesn't mean that we have to go into the bear market, right? But you just want to be able to anticipate that turbulence you might see along the way. All right, let's see here. Yeah, shout out to JP said if this cycle is the same length as the previous, then we only have about 60 days left. And who said that? Shout out to JP. Yeah, I mean, pull that chart back up real quick. All right. I mean, it does get you eerily close, those 2 months, right? Gets you eerily close to where I would be looking at to kind of be on top watch, right? And it's like you only have 60 days left, sure, right? If you're going to, and I wouldn't expect it to go like the exact same length, obviously. Maybe this one goes a little bit longer if we see some kind of crazy stuff happen macroeconomically or maybe geopolitically or something like that. There are things, macroeconomically or geopolitically that can throw a wrench in this. But it does seem like we're right on time, right? And if we only have 60 days left, it could mean that we're coming up to the most exciting part of the bull market where Bitcoin finally goes up for its last top, and then the altcoins actually have that exciting alt season that everybody is looking for. I know most people, I think most retail investors, right, I would say a majority of them are probably more heavily exposed to altcoins just based off the percentage gain that they're going to get off of them. If you have $1,000 to invest, which I'm sure a lot of people are starting with that kind of money, they're probably not just putting $1,000 in Bitcoin and looking for a 50% return from here, right? They're probably looking to turn that 1,000 into 50K or something like that to get crypto rich, right? And that's why the sentiment is pretty bad every time we get a dump, right? Because it's like the altcoins just keep getting pushed down, and most people are exposed to many altcoins, right? In my opinion, probably prematurely exposed to altcoins, but no one could have really predicted that the altcoins would have gotten slept on this entire cycle so far. But there's still hope here, guys. There's still hope. All right, let's continue on here. Shout out to Golden Child said, can alts really 10x in 2 months? Shout out to Golden Child. Well, I don't know if you've been in previous cycles before, but when alt season really hits, guys, you will know. If you're new to crypto, you've never experienced this mythical alt season that everyone talks about. People have been calling for this like on every pump to the upside. If you've never been through one of these alt season, true alt seasons, right? I'm talking alt seasons, not like what we saw in December, right? Where we got this little drop on dominance. I'm talking true alt season where you get a super nuke on Bitcoin dominance, right? If you see a true alt season come in, you will know, right? It's just like, Oh my God. Everything, your portfolio is just doubling every 5 minutes. That's an exaggeration, obviously. I mean, depending on what you buy, maybe it isn't unrealistic, but you will know, right? When that alt season happens, it is face-melting gains, right? Insane profit. And things are unstoppable. We got a little bit of a taste of it, right? Like on the XRP run, right? And some of the other coins that ran in November, December, right? Like this isn't, I wouldn't necessarily call that a full alt season, right? But like this is what you can kind of expect. Like these kinds of pumps kind of all happen in that grand finale. So yes, I would say definitely possible for many altcoins to 10x and even more in 2 months, right? Things start to move very, very, very fast. Assuming the top's not end of the bear market is here, which again, I don't fall in that camp, but let's see. Yes, alt season is not guaranteed. Shout out to Bring the Chaos. 1,000% alt season is not guaranteed. I think it's the higher probability scenario that we do see it. 100% not a guarantee, though. Let's see. It better. Shout out to Olgar. Yeah, it would be brutal, guys. If there's no alt season this cycle, this is something we will talk about for years to come. We're like, man, that was the, I mean, think about next cycle. It's like, oh my God, guys, we didn't have alt season last cycle. What's going to happen this cycle? It's gonna be a really difficult situation. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that, right? All right, let's see. Alts rip so hard when they rip, it feels illegal. Yeah, shout out to Patrick. It's just like, oh my God, I just spawned this money in my account. What the heck is going on? It's insane. But let's see here. Waiting for Bitcoin dominance to drop 55 to 53% to see an alt season. Yeah, and I always try to bring that up when we look at Bitcoin dominance. Like even if we pull up our actual dominance chart that we've been looking at, guys, right? Like low key, we've been calling these moves like almost perfectly, right? Push into the golden pocket. We look for the rejection. And it wasn't just the rejection here, right? It was also the fact that a lot of the alt charts started to look good. We had high time frame money flow crossovers. And what happened, right? We actually did get a pretty big rip on a lot of altcoins, like even like Dino coins like Polkadot, right? Like Polkadot, where's it at? Like right here, right? We got massive, massive, massive rips on this stuff, right? If that was our alt season and we're just going to go into like infinite Bitcoin dominance, that would be the most brutal thing ever. But even something like Polkadot gets like a massive 200% rip when you get the dominance to dump down like that. So you can imagine, right? And when you start to put this into perspective of what we've seen in the past for true alt seasons, right? You're looking at something like this, right, is what caused that alt run. And then like this is what you can see on a true alt season, right? So it's just a little bit of a taste. But even that, right, we see that technical golden pocket. We know that rejection is likely. We see the bullish signs in the altcoins and you get those rallies, right? But at that point, once you come up to retest this value area low, no longer are we looking for that rejection. We already got the rejection on the golden pocket. Once you get that second attempt, right, you're looking for a flip of support at the golden pocket / value area low. And once you get above that value area low, where are you going to look? This was February, March, right? Or really February once we got in here. A lot of people were looking for alt season, but we see this flipping to support, pushing dominance into the POC. What is that going to do for altcoins? It's going to absolutely hammer them, right? And then we had our bigger key level up here at the 786, and we got a pretty significant drop, which was very nice. And, you know, when we see corrections that we've been seeing recently, is that unlikely or unexpected? Absolutely not. Why? We already got a big drop on dominance. We're now hitting support. So you could easily bing bong around here for a little bit, cause some turbulence on altcoins before eventually getting the bigger breakdown out of this range to see true alt season, right? Money flow on the daily is still in the red and continuing to bleed out here just a little bit. 2-day money flow with the red dot incoming. Also, money flow coming out. This is just longer term. This will take a little bit of time to play out, but if we could see that money flow continue to the downside, right, this would be bearish for Bitcoin dominance and bullish for altcoins, right? So maybe a little bing bong around here, a little bit more sketchiness, little brutality, right? And then once you lose that value area low, that's probably where we'll see that bigger drop to the downside. If you're looking for no alt season to come in, I would say that you're probably anticipating a bounce from this value area low to come all the way up to that value area high. I can't say that's impossible, but money flow is not pointing in that direction, right? If I wanted this to rotate all the way through the profile, what would I want to see on money flow? I would want to see it coming into the green. What is it doing? It's coming down to look to cross into the red, right? So it's just what we see on the charts, right? It's not even really my opinion, right? It's just the information that we look at, right? And what happened back here, right? Daily money flow crosses into the red, right? You bing bong around, turbulence on altcoins. What the heck happened? I thought the money flow was in the red. It is. The downtrend continues, and you lose the value area. And then the 2-day was following shortly after, right? So maybe we bing bong around on dominance, and then eventually that 2-day money flow crosses into the red, but there could be some bing bonging around here, which could cause a little bit more consolidation, pain. So just be aware of it, right? But I would say the overall trend here would be, right, expectation would be lower highs, lower lows. Hopefully losing this and having alt season. If it doesn't happen, wow, that would be brutal, guys. That would be the most brutal thing ever. But anyway, let's continue on. Let's see. Alt season is dead. Shout out to Jungle Boy 420. It has been dead so far. That is for sure. Let's see. And again, no rate cuts, guys. Like if we don't see rate cuts, again, it's going to be unlikely to see the dominance drop down, right? We need these things to happen, right? It's not just, I think there is a common misconception of just like the magic of the 4-year cycle, right? Where we have to have alt season, right? A lot of people think we have to. I do think it's a higher probability, but I would never say you have to, right? If we don't get the rate cuts, it's not going to be good for alt season. That's just like a binary fact, right? I guess it could just, deviate and just pump anyway, but I just wouldn't see that as a high probability. Just like it just would be less probable. So there you go. Let's see. Shout out to Getchy. Said, what do you think about the current bounce, Frankie? Let's take a look here. Well, for my scalp long, I am hoping that this does continue. But shout out to Getchy. If you scrub back to the beginning of the stream, I covered like all this exact local price action, exactly what I'm looking at. I don't want to go over it again because I don't want to repeat it for the people who have been here. But if you just scrub back to the beginning of the stream, I give you the full sauce, high time frame analysis, low time frame expectation for this potential bounce, and you'll get all your answers. Shout out to Getchy. Thank you for being here, bro. All right, let's see. Shout out to Bear Market. Blues Brother said, my plan is not to short necessarily, but to stack again for another great entry when actual price is under realized price. Stop buying those alt gems. Spot buying those alt gems then too. Yeah, shout out to Bear Market Blues. This is usually the longer term kind of strategy that I tell people, right? Just wait for the better prices, right? I would never tell somebody that this is like a great time to buy Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that it can't go back up, right? But like generally you are buying Bitcoin basically at the most expensive it's ever been, right? You don't want to buy when things are high. You want to wait for those big corrections down. So shout out to Bear Market Blues. You should change your name to Bear Market Happy Days, because you're looking at it from a very positive perspective, looking for those opportunities, right? Like, even on this last bear market, right? It's like, sure, if you don't take profits that round trip, it's brutal. But, when you see this drop to the downside, if you're able to come out with some profit, right, you're just like, you should be excited about this. I always tell people during the bear markets, you want to triple down on your research. You want to triple down on paying attention to crypto, because this is the opportunity, not this. This is the opportunity. When everybody's scared, right? When everyone leaves, when the YouTube views go down, when everybody is gone, that is when you pay attention. And we are here through the bear markets. We were here through this one, buying the bottom, talking to you guys about exactly the strategies I was using to dollar cost average in to enjoy this anticipated bull market. But again, we were buying down here. It's very difficult for me to tell people this is a good time to buy Bitcoin. Sure, it can go up higher, but you're definitely not getting the best price in my opinion. So, but altcoins, again, a lot of altcoins still kind of like, hanging down here. So we're going to jump into the altcoins real quick. I want to take a look at Ethereum with you guys. We'll take a look at Solana, XRP, all that good stuff. Let's see. Shout out to Jessica. Welcome in, Jessica. Said, you missed me. Shout out to Jessica. Welcome back. Shout out Jessica in the chat. Let's go. Shout out to, I don't know how to say that name. I apologize, but he says, bro, last 2021 bull run in liquidity heat map, did you see high concentration of liquidations in the 70K top, similar to the bull run at 120K, but did not grab it, then bear market hits? Yeah, shout out to... I really don't know how to say that name. But yes, just because you have liquidity does not mean you have to grab it, right? It's kind of the same thing as like when I was just explaining those Fibonacci targets, right? Like just because we have a target up at 150K does not mean you have to go there. It's kind of the same thing with the liquidity. Typically price will take the liquidity that it is closest to. But just because you have liquidity up here, is it higher probability that once you get close to that, you will sweep it? Yes. But a lot of people will look at those liquidation heat maps. I'll try to pull one up here for a second. Let's see here. Let me just reload this real quick. Take a sip of that general water, not Aztecian cactus. Dehydrated right now, guys. What the heck is going on here? What the heck? Okay, so, when you look at this, I would actually probably look at a higher time frame here, right? There's always going to be liquidity above major highs and major lows, right? So, like, at the end of the day, wherever your top comes in at, there's going to be liquidity sitting above those highs. Does not guarantee that you're going to come take it. So, is this liquidity? Yes. Is that going to act as a magnet for price? Well, if we do retrace and, like I said, flip 118K, at that point, right, you're getting pretty dang close to that liquidity. And that's why I do say once you get to 118K, that's where it becomes much more likely to come sweep out that liquidity. But down here, to just say you have liquidity up here, we have to go take it. is not necessarily the case. So just understand that. All right, so let's go ahead and jump back in here. Bitcoin trying to push above here, guys. We got to hold this daily MPOC at 113,637. Come on, baby. Do it. Lower time frame, though. We do have the 4-hour VWAP trying to come back up. Again, money flow still coming out, but if we can get that green dot on the 4-hour, it may be able to help us on that push to the upside. And again, line in the sand here, 112,668. Lose that, I'm looking for lower lows. That plus money flow, right? Lose this and you have money flow coming out. That's multiple reasons to be looking for that new low to come in. Let's see. Shout out to Dave Digital, said Frankie Candles. There has been several requests to look at ticker sign my butt. Shout out to Dave Digital. You're going to have to send that pic in the Discord, my friend. Let's go. Don't think we won't pull it up. Shout out to Dave Digital. All right, let's continue on here. I just wanted to dump already so we can move on. Yeah, shout out to NTX too. Yeah, that's kind of how I am for the most part, right? Just like, it's like, just rip the dang Band-Aid off. Let's see. All right, so let's continue on. I do want to take a look at some altcoins here. We will take a look at Ethereum, or Erythrium, as your grandmother might call it, guys. And as you know, when we covered in the market update earlier today, what are we rejecting here? We are rejecting the golden pocket almost perfectly. This is an area, right, to potentially put in the lower high for a potential lower low. And I'm going to talk about the key levels down below, guys. I would not be, I would be looking at dips, especially on Ethereum here, as a buy the dip scenario, right? We have this key level here between the gold value area high where we also had a daily MPOC down here. We got the pushback, right? We got back above it. We got a little bit of a bounce, but where do we retrace into? Right into our golden pocket. This is a key level of resistance, guys. Until we crack above 38.16, I would not be anticipating a new high to come in just yet, right? If we can get above that 786, that's your doorway to see another high come in. And in my opinion, if you can squeeze up above that high, you do have a pretty good opportunity to put in a new all-time high, in my opinion, right? We've been slamming into this resistance for years. Even back in 2021, I covered this yesterday. We get the push up into the 4K zone, big rejection. Another attempt at 4K, another rejection. We push up above it so briefly for like some kind of a failed auction, back down below. Back up, back down below. Years later, back up to the 4K level, slam back down. Even tested twice. Back up, slam back down. So if we could crack above these highs, guys, I would argue that this is massive resistance, right? And the more times you tap on the door, the more likely it is to open. So that's why I say that 786, again, sitting at 38.16, flip that to support, and we can crack above these highs, you might be able to squeeze up into a new all-time high for Ethereum. But that does not mean that we cannot locally continue down here, right? That's long-term. That's a long-term outlook. If we put the lower high in here on this golden pocket, let's just assume we have the high, the low, the lower high, and we do wind up losing this 786, just like the 786 from the low to the high is the line in the sand on Bitcoin locally. This will be the same thing for Ethereum. 786 sits at about 34.38. Lose that 786. The idea of a higher low is invalidated, and you will be looking to take out the low and continue your trend to the downside, which, by the way, money flow is also pointing towards, right? I like to scream this from the rooftops. Money flow is coming out. Is this a blood diamond on the 10-hour? I hope not. It's not. That's nice to see. But money flow is trending out. We are in a lower high retracement level. It could continue the downtrend. Does this make me think Ethereum is going to zero? Not necessarily, guys. We have a major level of support sitting down here at the daily MPOC at about $3,168, right? So even if we do, and it would be an aggressive hold of support here. If we can just break out, that would be very nice. But again, the way money flow looks, it might want to go for a bigger retracement down. I will have all my eyes, all two of them, at $3,168 on this daily MPOC. And I do believe we also have some anchored VWAP confluence here as well, pulled from the low. Yeah, you can see that anchored VWAP is coming up very nicely in confluence with that as well. So this would be the next significant key level of support for Ethereum. Anchored VWAP, daily MPOC sitting at about 31.83 to 31.46. Once you break down below that, you're kind of getting down to that level you really want to bounce off of, which is going to be the structural highs, macro golden pocket, daily MPOC, weekly MPOC. Right? And I will actually lower this because this was confluent with the anchored VWAP, but now the anchored VWAP has moved. So major key level number one, if we get the bigger pullback on Ethereum, we'll be sitting at 31.68. If we lose that level, I will be looking down towards the bigger level of support between about 3,000 and 27.92. Two daily MPOCs, weekly MPOC, golden pocket, right? And the structural highs of this range, very similar to what we saw on Bitcoin, right? So I will be looking at these as buy the dip opportunities, right? Not that I'm looking to really accumulate any more Ethereum at these prices. I've already picked up much lower. But, if I were looking for a buy the dip situation, I would be looking for bounces right here. This is a very confident level of support. Lose this, I'm looking down here. Once you start breaking down below here, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. Again, 786 is an area where you can get the bounce. This will be a pretty deep retracement in my opinion, though. We'll worry about that. It's all the way down to 2566. We're super far away from that, so I don't want to cover the super lower levels. So I would say right now, just watch 3168 at that daily MPOC for the meantime. So there you go. And again, money flow pointing towards the potential continuation down, lower high retest. It's not until, if you do not want a lower high to come in here, and by the way, this is the full golden pocket from the absolute high to the low. So, if we come back up, right, like this is 100% the doorway. If you can get above here and hold it as support and start pushing up, you might be able to get that bigger move. But until that happens, right, money flow is definitely pointing more towards something like that, right? Either from where we are now or one more push up into the 786 before coming down. Flip it. Beautiful, right? It's like resistance. It kind of stinks to look at. However, it does give you that nice line in the sand, which, would be bullish, right? Flip that line in the sand. You're looking for potentially all-time highs, right? Which my first major target, right? Major target, longer-term target would be sitting up in the $5,700 level. And if I pulled some local retracement levels as well, let me see if I could just pull this real quick to give you guys some more tangible levels. Yeah, like maybe 4,078 up to about 4,300 might be like a local level to stop off at. But, higher time frame, like if we're going to see alt season come in, Ethereum's going to put in new all-time highs. I will be looking up towards about $5,800. And it could go higher, right? But that'd be the beginning of that first target. Just like Bitcoin, right? Just like Bitcoin, right? Like what happened on Bitcoin if we compare this, right? Very, very similar to what we saw happen on Bitcoin. And I will just show you this so it makes sense for you. What do we have on Bitcoin high time frame, right? Well, we had our major bull market range. Once we got back in there, we rotated from the value area low into the POC, a little bit of turbulence right into the high. Once you broke out of there and held it as support, that's where you break off into those next bull market targets, which I just showed you guys were sitting. First one was sitting right here, right? This would be very similar to Ethereum. Bull market range, get above, rotate the profile. We couldn't get the breakout like Bitcoin did. Ethereum just kept on consolidating and getting the big retracement. But I would say if you could break out here, stay above the high, eventually, that's where we'd be looking at. That'd be like kind of that same bull market target number one that we were looking at on Bitcoin, which hit, to the dollar. Not to the dollar, but hit almost perfectly, right? You could just see. Come right on in there. You bing bong around, lose it. Beautiful, beautiful target. Very similar to Ethereum being up here. So there you go. That's what I'm looking at. 5-day money flow still crossing into the green. 2-day money flow still, come on. 2-day money flow still healthily in the green here, right? I want to repeat myself. If Ethereum dumps, I am looking at it as a buy the dip scenario, right? This indicates that we are looking for higher lows, higher highs, wherever that wants to come in, right? Until that money flow starts tanking out to the downside, that's where we would look for the continuation of the trend down. Right? If I were looking, right, even if you were to I always do this, right? If you were to inverse this, right, what would we be looking at if you were, right? What would we be looking for? If this was money flow crossing into the red, what would we be looking for? We would be looking for lower highs and lower lows. Right? Why? Well, money flow is coming out, right? So that gives us, well, hey, this would be a green dot in the inverse, right? We'd look for a little bounce to the upside, but money flow would indicate lackluster retracement to the upside for a continuation down, right? But this is upside down, right? There you go, right? It's not just me being like FOMO bullish, right? Or just like trying to hold on for dear life. Like, oh, come on, please pump, right? It's just what's on the charts. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Hopefully put some people's minds at ease. So yeah, there we go. There's Ethereum. That is what we're looking at. Let's jump into Solana really, really quickly here. All right, so for Solana, so yeah, here we are. We did get that bounce off the golden pocket yesterday, but again, key resistance above, right? We tried to break out of this. We couldn't. We're now back in the range. Same thing as yesterday. If we cannot break out of this value area high, guys, we wind up coming back down to retest this golden pocket. We've already bounced off of the top of the golden pocket and the first daily MPOC, so that puts your next key level of support at the bottom of the golden pocket on your next daily MPOC, which does sit at about 153.84. At the end of the day, guys, we didn't fill this golden pocket totally, but more often than not, if you're looking for the higher low and a higher high, right? If you're looking for that golden pocket to be a higher low and a higher high, you really want that bounce to happen on the first tap, right? Once you start coming down and tapping this again, it's much more likely to break down. You do have the fresh daily MPOC. That's why I am keeping this on the chart. I'm not just taking the golden pocket off completely. These are technically naked levels, but if you can't hold this, I am 100% still going to be looking down towards the POC, weekly MPOC, 786 confluence, because once you lose the golden pocket, you're looking for the 786, and once you get accepted inside the value area, the next likely place for price to go is the POC, and both of those levels are confluent down here, and this is a major level on Solana, guys. Major level. If we lose this, much more downside in my opinion, right? But we still do have some room and some key support down below. From a market cipher perspective, this is obviously looking very similar to everything else, right? 2-day money flow still in the green. VWAP attempting to work its way up there. This is going to take some time to develop. 3-day money flow still generally trending up. 4-day money flow kind of flat there, to be quite honest. 5-day money flow still thick in the green. So yeah, that's what I would watch for, right? You still have the 12-hour money flow. You know, Ethereum and Solana, like a little better on the 12-hour money flow, but, you know, red dot potentially incoming, money flow, you know, rolling over. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we crack that low into that next key level support at 153.84. Lose that, looking down towards the PLC 786 at 144.07 to 142.88. Simply put, that's what I'm looking at. So there you go. Let's see. Jesse is emotionally scarred for life. Shout out to Vegas Club. What the heck is going on in chat right now, guys? Good Lord. Do I even want to read it? Oh God. Everybody's on one tonight. Shout out to, Teutonic. Shout out to you, man. He said, bro, Frankie, thank you so much. No problem, bro. I'm here for you, brother. I'm here for you. Thanks, Frankie. You're the best. Shout out to AJ Sharma. Shout out to you, man. Okay, so let's jump in. Shout out to Chatmaster, said, got wrecked. Oh, my God. Shout out to Chatmaster. What happened, brother? What happened? Let us know. Let us know, man. Share it with the Mafia. We're here for you, brother. We're here for you. Frankie, how's BTC's money flow going low and altcoins going up? Well, I would argue here that the same kind of time frames, right? 12-hour money flow coming out. Again, you know, it's kind of the same on altcoins. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're. I don't know if you're saying how is Bitcoin's money flow coming out, and altcoin money flow coming up, or why is Bitcoin's money flow coming out and altcoins are bouncing? I wouldn't really say that they're bouncing super aggressively. I mean, maybe on a lower time frame, getting like, I don't know, some kind of a little bounce. But yeah, if you could clear that up, I will be happy to answer that for you. Perry, let me know. I'd like to answer that for you, bro. But let's jump in. We took a look at ETH, took a look at Solana, XRP. I'll do a quick check-in on XRP because I'm pretty sure we're in like pretty much the same exact scenario we were yesterday. Yeah, so we got the bounce off the golden pocket. We're attempting to hold this anchored VWAP. I mean, we're testing this key level of support, right? Holding this anchor VWAP would be very nice. But if we lose this, guys, again, it's, you know, what do you have underneath you, right? If you lose that anchored VWAP, right, you're looking for the continuation down. You've already tapped this golden pocket. I do not look for these to get tapped twice. It's not often, right? If you're looking for a higher low or at least just some kind of a bounce off a golden pocket, right? It's not oftentimes where you'll get like a little bounce and then the big bounce happens the second time. Very rare. So I would say if we lose this anchored VWAP, which right now sits at about 293, right? Lose that. The next level underneath you is that tapped golden pocket, which is not really a legit support in my opinion, right? Because this is likely the second time to get tapped to lose, right? You're very likely to lose that, right? In which case, I'd be looking down towards that 786, which is confluent with your value area high, your larger golden pocket, and a daily MPOC. So next big zone of support, if we lose this anchored VWAP and lose that golden pocket, which I would say if you lose the anchored VWAP and continue down, losing the golden pocket would be likely, especially if money flow looks very similar here. Yeah, you got your 12-hour red dot coming in, money flow trending out, 10-hour, money flow crossover into the red. No blood diamond, but you do have that money flow trending to the downside, right? Like, you had a nice money flow wave here, right? We had a nice rip up on XRP, guys, right? So, you know, you got to retrace these moves at some point. This money flow coming out would make me think that the higher probability would be lower highs and lower lows if we lose that golden pocket. Looking down here at the value area high, golden pocket, 786, daily MPOC, between 260 and 250. And if you guys remember back in the day, right, when we were chilling up here and we were talking about a potential rejection from this level for a bigger retracement, that big level to look at was just on the higher time frames, that value area high, right? So it could just be like on our continuation to that expected level of support. If you hold the anchor VWAP and, yeet on off to higher prices, that would be, very nice. But I wouldn't say money flow is necessarily pointing to that situation happening, right? Definitely the lower probability scenario when it comes to money flow, unless it just fakes out. Well, you can't bet on that, right? Like, what would have happened if you bet on this fake out, right? It's like, oh my God, we're in the green again. But you already spent so much time in the red. It might be time to get that little bit of a cool off. But you're holding this anchored VWAP, again, sitting at about, call it 293. Hold this. That's your support. Lose it. Could be on that bigger retracement based off money flow and the key levels down below. So there you go. That's what we're looking at on XRP. This would not make me super scared, right? It's really the line in the sand for on XRP for me is about 230. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we can get that pump to come in. All right, let's see. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I didn't see any come in. Oh, we did have a couple super chats. Shout out to Crypto Pollo. Let's get it, baby. Give them those Frankie Candles memberships. Let's go, baby. 5 Frankie Candles memberships. I was a little late for that, but shout out to Crypto Pollo. Shout out to Crypto Pollo. We love you, bro. Thank you for gifting those memberships. Let's go. And Jack, thank you for the super chat. Said for the daily cannolis. Hey, shout out to Jack. Thank you for that, bro. I appreciate you just tipping in cannolis. I love it. I'll have to go get a fresh pack here, but we don't have good cannolis out here. I'm not gonna lie. I gotta go back to New York for the cannolis. But shout out to Jack. Thank you so much for that. And we got Andre said Solana, please. Hugs from Italy. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for being here. Shout out to the homeland. And we took a look at Solana, so I already got that for you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. And Zach said I've 10x'd a weekend on spot. Yo, shout out to Zach. 10x'd in a weekend on spot. Let's go. Shout out to Zach. What did you buy? Zach, tell us what you bought. Don't hold out on the mafia, bro. Don't hold out on the mafia. But thank you for the super chats, guys. Let's see here. I do want to get through some more altcoins here. Let's see. Bada boom, bada bing. Can we check Arweave? Yes, we can check out Arweave. Shout out to Wick589. Said, just in and out, folks. I'm eating dinner with the in-laws. Hey, Jesse, Cat. Hi, others. Shout out to Wick589. Well, enjoy your dinner, brother. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you for being here. Always got to check in, Wick. We appreciate you, man. All right, so let me get some. All right, so we'll take a look at Jupe. We'll take a look at Arweave. And I will take some more requests as well, but we'll start with these. Let's go ahead and jump on into Jupe. Let me actually just do a quick check-in on Bitcoin real quick. 113. She's trying. She's trying, guys. She's fighting. This is the most lackluster. I'm not going to lie. I was even saying in the Discord, like, wow, guys, this is a brutal one. This is a super brutal one. It's in profit. I mean, it pushed up from the entry. Very nice, but this is it's a tickler here. This one's a tickler. All right, let's see. Frankie got that special sauce. Shout out to Redman. Welcome in, bro. Good to see you. We're dishing out the special sauce tonight, guys. If you're here, you're getting the special Frankie Candle sauce. Excuse me. We got weekend price action on Tuesday. Yeah, shout out to Dave Digital. Talk about the troll of the week. It is the weekend price action on a Tuesday. Absolutely brutal. But anyway, let's continue on. Perry says just the money flow. I can't really give like a exact reason why that happens. It's more of just something that is happening that I take into consideration, and I just take that information and judge it as it is. But yeah, it's kind of hard for me to give an exact reason. Like the 12-hour money flow, obviously, as I said, like coming out pretty aggressively here on Bitcoin. But then we look at something like Ethereum, which has been very strong, holding up very well. It's a little bit thicker. It is generally still trending in the same direction. So yeah, I couldn't really put an exact reason on that. It is still trending in the same direction. It's just not as close to the zero line, right? It's like, I don't know if I can measure it like this. Like, yeah, I don't know if that'll work, but no, I guess it will. Yeah, it's not going to work. But yeah, you could just see we're much closer to that zero line on Bitcoin than we are on Ethereum. I don't really know why that happens. But it is just a thing. I would just have to take that as money flow looks a little worse on Bitcoin than it does on Ethereum, but it's all pointed in the same direction, which is the overall, is what you're looking at for money flow anyway. It's just overall expectation of price, or trend, I should say. Let's see. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into, yes, we will take a look at Litecoin as well. But let's go ahead and start off on Jupe. We'll come over to the altcoin template here. All right, so let me get my bearings here. Yeah, so we came down full golden pocket 786, right? Yeah, full golden pocket 786 from the low to the high. Golden pocket, this is your first level of support, right? This is where you would hope that you would have your low, your high, your higher low before a higher high. If you can't hold this, very simple place to look, right? It's in line with your volume profile. When you lose the value area high, you're looking for the next anticipated place for price to go. The highest probability area is always going to be that POC, the strongest magnet within the profile. The crazy predictive nature of these volume profiles is insane. There's no other tool that can give you that high of a probability of a level getting hit. And you have the golden pocket confluence, right? So this is the first biggest level of support. You slipped it. You're trying to reclaim it here right now. But again, looking at your higher time frame money flow, your incoming 12-hour red dot, if this money flow continues out, guys, I would say if you lose that golden pocket, the next likely place for price to go is the 786. Once you lose the POC, the next place for price to go is the value area low. All of that is in confluence, right? Lose the POC, you're looking at the low. Lose the golden pocket, you're looking at the 786. And the value area low and the 786 are perfectly sitting right here. So, got to hold this golden pocket, right? In my opinion, right? You know, maybe you slip it again. But I would say, like, in general, with the way money flow looks, like, even if you get another bounce here, if you can't hold on top of that POC, I'd be looking down here. And then this is a big key level of support, because if you don't get the bounce here, right, that's where you're looking for your last chance to put in a higher low. Once you start breaking below that, yikes, right? You're looking to come take that low and come down to lower prices. But you still have some room to do that, right? Still a potential bounce off that golden pocket, still a bounce off the 786 potentially. But this would be the kind of the bigger line in the sand, right? Unless we come down and just deviate below the low like very briefly and get back into the range, that would be okay to get like a wick down there. But once you start hanging out, you're looking to crack that low, which does sit at about 32 cents. So there you go. That's pretty simple what I'd be looking at on Jupiter. Pretty clear levels. Pretty clear levels, and money flow looking pretty much the same as everything else, right? I would say, like, watch that 12-hour money flow. 10-hour money flow is probably looking the most bearish on a lot of altcoins, that same little fake out into the green. But what did it end up being? Just another lower high, like we would look at on Bitcoin yesterday. Shout out to Tony D. Thank you for the super chat. Said Billy would like to sponsor a free month of the kitchen for a lucky community member who attends the space tonight. Shout out to Tony D. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Shout out to Crypto Billy. That's awesome. Shout out to Billy. I don't know how the logistics of that will work, but shout out to Tony. I'm sure he will have some kind of weird, convenient system for that, because that's just how Tony works. But shout out to Tony D and shout out to Crypto Billy. Thank you for doing that, bro. So if you're looking to get a free month in the premium Discord, come hop over to the Billy Goats X Space tonight at 8 p.m. Let's go. I'll be there. You should too. All right, let's continue on. All right, so let's take a quick look. Took a look at Jupiter. Let's take a look at Arweave. BT straight trolling us. Shout out to Dave Digital. Yeah, it's man. I'll be honest, I would almost prefer to get like instant play out of the trade, even if it doesn't go my way. Don't tickle me like that, right? It's like you're constantly checking your phone. You're like, come on, what happened? What happened? Oh my God, it's just still going sideways. I would almost rather just get stopped out, end of story, right? Just get it over with and look for the next trade. But yeah, we are getting trolled today. This is not what we wanted to look at. All right, let's take a look at Arweave. All right, so we've already, let me get my bearings here because we have not looked at this in a long time. This is a super old fib level, super old daily MPOC, super old fib level, super old daily MPOC, super old weekly, super old daily. Okay, so now we can look at this fresh. From a high time frame perspective, right? Here's your bear market range. We deviated below. We got back in. We filled the range. We got to push to the upside, and then another massive, massive drop down. I'm not going to lie, guys. It's like if we had, a better macroeconomic environment, we might have seen alt season happen earlier. It did look like this looked pretty good. I mean, this is a massive move up from the lows to the highs of about 1,200%. I mean, this is insane. We got the big drop back down to the bear market range. We had this little local range that we're bing-bonging around in right now, and I can actually extend this profile to the right, which will move this up slightly. And the reason I am moving this to current price action is simply because we are still within the area of balance. So these ranges are just stacked right on top of each other. But this is your bear market range, right? It's like you bing bong around here in the bear market, you lose it, And then like this is what you're looking at as undervalued price, because once you get back into the fair value, you would look to fill that fair value and then potentially impulse out of it, which we did get. It's kind of the same thing here. We're kind of just this. I would classify this. Doesn't mean it can't go lower, but I would classify this based off your relative price action. This is more of an oversold kind of environment, right? So I would say at this point, right, as you bing bong around sideways in this range, your biggest level to get above is going to be the value area high / value area low confluence. I mean, this is going to be your very, very clear doorway to higher prices, right? Doorway to higher prices. That's not what I wanted to do. It's not letting me select the actual level. Boom. Doorway to higher prices, right? So this is your biggest level of resistance. We've gotten rejected. We got rejected. I would say key level of support to look at here on our weave would be pulling from the low to the high. You can see we are tapping into our golden pocket as we speak, right? So your first major key level of support would be here. Now, from a volume profile perspective, in my opinion, it doesn't make a ton of sense to bounce off this golden pocket, right? You also have your POC right above. So can you bounce off this golden pocket? Sure. You are bouncing right into the POC, right? So you are pushing right into resistance. And at that point, you've already lost your value area high. Come back down to the POC, lost the POC. The next anticipated highest probability place for price to go, in my opinion, would probably be to eventually see that value area low 786, which would be the line in the sand, just like everything else. The 786s are going to be the line in the sand, because if we break that 786, again, just like everything else, this is where you're looking for the higher low. You start breaking below that 786, invalidation of the higher low, and you're looking for a crack of structure to the downside, breaking down below 450. But you're just within your range here, right? So, is it possible to get the bounce off the golden pocket and, get your low, your high, your higher low, and your higher high? Yes. But the fact that you have your value area low and 786 confluence down here and you're already accepted inside of this range, I would say there's a high probability of coming down to the value area low 786. And when we look at money flow, right, if it looks anything like anything else, which it pretty much does, right? Money flow, sure, it's coming back up, right? But is this just going to be another lower high like we saw in Bitcoin? Potentially. 10-hour money flow crossing into the red as well. 10-hour money flow looks the worst on altcoins right now. This would indicate lower highs and lower lows, right? So I would still be careful of coming down to that 786. Value area low sitting at about 564 and 541, simply put. And then this is a huge key level of support. I'll even label it here. Please hold me. There you go. Big key level. And that comes in at the bottom of that range at 542. So there you go. That's what I'd be looking at on our weave. And let's jump into Litecoin really quickly, and then we'll take some more requests here. Taking a look at Litecoin. Okay. So let's see here. I think did we look at Litecoin yesterday? I do believe we did. That's an old fib. Okay, so full fib, high to the low, massive resistance zone between the golden pocket 786. We also have the value area low there as well. So it's nice that we've broken out of this range. We've pushed in to test that value area low. We got the retrace and a push back into this range. So this is nice. I'm going to take this golden pocket off the chart just because we've already broken it and reclaimed it. 786 tapped like pretty much to the dollar there. So this is a big resistance level in my own personal opinion. But not only is this a big resistance level, but also the line in the sand for a potential much bigger move up, right? If we break above that 786, what are we looking at? Invalidation of a lower high, right? And you could flip this and push deeper into the profile, which would probably send you towards the POC at about 180.37. Not too bad, right? Key level of support down below now just remains or becomes once again the value area low at 111.68, right? So your hope here is to stay inside this range finally, not come in and lose it again, right? You want to come in, you want to stay inside this profile, flip that 786, and then break these highs and push up towards that point of control at 180.37. This is the next major target to the upside, and just be aware, this is key resistance. And when we look at our money flow, let's see what it looks like. 12-hour money flow, looking a little bit better on Litecoin. Definitely a stronger altcoin here. A little bit of an early mover, in my opinion. 10-hour money flow trying to trend down. But I would say, just be aware you are rejecting key resistance. But as long as you stay within this range and above that value area low at 111.68, the doorway to the POC is going to remain open at 180.37. Taking a look at the higher time frames. 2-day money flow, thick in the green. Fresh 2-day green dot. This is This is what you want to see for a continuation up, right? And this is what we've been talking about on all of the altcoins, right? Even if they correct a little bit more, you're looking for those corrections for higher lows and higher highs. Why is that? It's based off the money flow coming up. This will help you filter whether you should be looking for longs on the higher lows or if you should be favoring the shorts on the for the lower highs. Now, you might say to yourself, well, Frankie, I thought 12-hour money flow was coming out. That's a lower time frame, right? When this 2-day money flow comes up, this is long-term, right? This takes a long time to turn around. Again, long-term scenario, even if we get that 12-hour money flow to come out and give us a bigger pullback, right, we could still potentially look at key levels for higher lows and higher highs because of the high time frame money flow. 4-day money flow, trending out here, right? Not the most bullish sign, in my opinion. 5-day, thick in the green. This money flow is chopped up. This is weird, if I'm being totally honest. Like, money flow very close to the zero line on the 4-day, but the 5-day is just all the way in the green. That is weird. I don't know why that's happening. 6-day money flow flying to the upside. Weekly money flow flying to the upside. I mean, this is long-term bullish, right? This is what you want to see. This is money entering the asset, right? Just in the same way, if we were looking at this inverted and money flow was tanking to the downside, that would be very bearish, right? But it's coming into the green. So I would still say long-term, higher lows and higher highs. But locally, if you look at the 10-hour, if that money flow comes out, Litecoin's kind of an anomaly here because a lot of other altcoins are crossing into the red here, right? But this is a lower time frame, so you could look for a little bit of a continuation to the downside. But as long as those higher time frame money flows stay in the green, you could look for the local trend to the downside based off the lower time frame money flow, and then look for the higher low on the higher time frames based off your higher time frame money flow. Does that make sense? That's a little confusing. If you have questions, please ask them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them for you guys. So yeah, I'm perfect tap of that 786. That's your doorway. That's your line in the sand. And if you wanted to look at this for some local levels, I'll give this to you as well. I'll just grab all this and hide it in a folder. You could also potentially pull this clean volume profile. I mean, this is a very clean range, right? So you'll just pull this. You have your value area high, your POC. Your value area low, boom, boom, boom. That didn't do anything. Those are invisible lines. And then you have the POC, and you have the value area low. So that 786 was in line with your POC. So locally, you could kind of look at this as well, right? 111 macro value area low is also very close to this local value area low. So I would just say, similar to the macro profile, if you stay inside this volume profile, right, maybe you fill this and full up to the value area high at 137.26. And again, that's really close to that 786. If you get the breakout there, you could send up towards that higher macro POC at 180, what was it, 180.66 or something like that, 180.79. So yeah, local levels, I'd be looking at this. Value area low 108.31, POC 126.76, value area high 137.22. Simply what I'd be looking at on Litecoin. So there we go. Let's see. Shout out to Dave Digital, said some people lick puppies too. Shout out to Dave Digital. I can't say I haven't had the urge to lick a puppy. I can't say I've actually done it, though. Shout out to Dave Digital. Let's see. Near, yeah, we could take a look at Near. Ondo, yes, we could take a look at Ondo as well. Let's take a look at Near real quick. I do believe I have a Near chart set up here. All right, so let's take a look here. These are old fibs, This is old as well. Could just update this one, though. Kind of a big support resistance zone there, so I'd actually mark this out with the 786 value area high. Yeah, you didn't really get the rejection off the golden pocket, but you push into the 786, accepted back into the range. I mean, typical volume profile behavior there. Flip the low, go to the POC, flip the POC, go to the high, reject the high, back to the POC, lose the POC, back to the low. So I have a sneaking suspicion here that you might have a Fibonacci retracement right here. Actually, it might be the full retracement. Let me pull the full retracement. Yeah, so I would say this is your first big key level of support on Near. Sitting at the golden pocket value area low at about 233 to 224. 786 sits at about 207. That is your line in the sand. This was your first opportunity to put in a higher low. And then put in a higher high, breaking structure to the upside. But again, with the way money flow looks, I would definitely be a bit cautious of that. 10-hour money flows crossing into the red could indicate the downtrend is going to continue, which if you lose this golden pocket, right, we actually front ran that golden pocket. So this is still technically valid. So I would definitely be looking here between 233 and 224. If you can't hold that, I'm looking down towards the 786 here at 207. Lose that, I'm going to be looking for the much bigger drop down to crack these lows at about $179. Near's at $179, guys. $1.79, right? Because this would invalidate the idea of that higher low coming in, and you would look to break structure to the downside. That's what I would look at. So yeah, other than that, you're kind of just bing-bonging around sideways in your range here, which is, from a higher time frame perspective, I don't even think this is my current. I don't even think this is my current near chart, to be quite honest with you. But I would update this profile. Right, you do have another major volume profile sitting up here, starting at about 389. So if you do impulse out of this range, guys, you're kind of in a pickle here, to be quite honest. Right, this is also the value area high. This golden pocket is pretty much the value area high of this previous range as well. So when you look at this, right, it's like you're kind of in between a rock and you're kind of between like not a rock and a hard place, but you're between like a rock and like heaven. So if I mark this out, right, it's like you don't want to get accepted back into this range, because if you break down below that 786, you might be on your way to come down to, you know, fill this whole volume profile. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that, right? And there's probably local levels that we can look at if we do see that situation play out. I'm sure there's other significant levels that we can look at. I'm going to save time today because we're still far away. I won't bring them up or look for them. I don't know where they are. But, you know, at the end of the day, we get accepted into this profile, much more downside. But if we can get an impulse out, right, where is price going to gravitate to? Price always seeks fair value. So when you, this is your fair value. This is fair value. This is fair value, right? So if you impulse to the upside, the clear trajectory here is to seek out the fair value here, starting at the value area low at 387. And then if you can get the impulse, reclaim that value area low, you're very likely to fill that entire range. But on the flip side of that coin, if you wind up breaking down below that 786, right, you're basically impulsing out of this range and getting accepted into your next area of fair value. And that POC is sitting all the way down here at $1.34. Doesn't mean you have to get there, right? Like I said, you might have some MPOCs down here that can hold some high time frame levels, but just based off the volume profiles, like there is a danger of getting below that 786, not just because it invalidates the lower high, but you're also getting accepted into that lower range. And with the way price seeks out fair value, it would be anticipated that you would at least fill a decent part of that range. So you're really hoping to hold these levels and impulse to the upside to get accepted into your much larger range, which the value area high does come in at about 678. So if you did get the impulse, right, from where we are, let's say even if you had to play around down here and you do get the impulse, I mean, you're looking at about 180% rip all the way to that value area high, and that's not even near your all-time highs. So there you go, right? Bear market range, big breakout, right? Cool off. Is this a good place to bounce, right? Well, we would just look at the Fibonacci retracements. Was that a healthy pullback? It got a little sketchy, right? Because like at the end of the day, you want to hold this 786, and we kind of played around. We're kind of playing around with it. Yeah, kind of make or break here, in my opinion, for near, honestly. Because you lose that 786, it's like you really want to start getting going here somewhat soon. So I don't want to give you guys too many levels or too many perspectives, but that's what I'm looking at, and that's what I would anticipate. Just be careful, because continuation down will be likely. You got to bounce off these levels. So there you go. That would be near, not to be confused with far. All right, let's see. Pangu, yeah, we could try to take a look at Pangu. Just make sure I didn't miss anything here in the chat. Okay, let's continue on. I don't think I missed anything. Yo, shout out to Tony D gifting 50 Frankie Candles memberships. Bro, what are you doing? Shout out to Tony D gifting 50 Frankie Candles memberships. Let's go. Shout out to Tony D. Show Tony D some love. I don't think we can drop those golden emojis in the chat if you guys just got a membership. Shout out to Tony D, bro. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to refund you, bro. Why would you do that? Shout out to Tony D. I hope you didn't do that from your personal account. Well, actually, I think you did because your picture popped up. Shout out to Tony D. I will be reimbursing you. But thank you for doing that for the Mafia. Drop those golden emojis in the chat if you just got a membership. Shout out to Golden and shout out to Tony D. Let's go. Unbelievable. Tony D shower. Ooh. We'll just say Tony shower. We'll say a Tony shower. Anyway, let's continue on. W Tony, let's go. Yo, 12 Pig said, yo, stop playing with Frankie's money. Shout out to 12 Pig. Let's go. Shout out to Tony D. Thank you for doing that, bro. There's those golden emojis. Let's go. Wait, are there 2 golden emojis? What the heck is going on there? Shout out to Tony D. He said, if you refund me, I will send you more. Shout out to Tony D. We always pay each other back. He'll pay me back, and then I'll pay him back double, and then he'll pay me back double, and it turns into a big nightmare, guys. But anyway, shout out to Tony D. Don't block me on Venmo or Zelle. But let's continue on. Show some love for Tony D in the chat. How do we not have a Tony D emoji? We need a Tony D pizza emoji. Let's go. Awesome attitude. Shout out to Rice. Let's go. Yeah, it's it's pretty funny. We'll actually argue. Like, stop sending me money. Go ahead, send it to me, bro. See what happens. Send it to me. Shout out to Tony D. All right, let's see. It's only a nightmare for me. I have to block this dude on Zelle to prevent getting money from him. Shout out to Tony D. I just randomly Zelle him money for fun. All right, let's see. Double or nothing, baby. Shout out to Sandberger. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Screw arguing over, hey, you didn't pay me back. I'd rather fight with my friends over sending them extra money. Let's go. All right, maybe we could take a look at ICP. We did not take a look at ICP. Actually, no, I think we took a look at ICP yesterday. We could take another look. LDO ADA. Let's take a look at ADA. That is a common request here recently. Where's it at? Bada boom, pulling up ADA here. And, you know, kind of like not really too much to talk about here. Like, honestly, on a lot of this stuff, right, we're kind of in the, you know, we just got this little bounce to the upside, little retracement. But, I mean, from this volume profile perspective, I would say on Cardano, guys, to be quite honest, like, deviate above the high, accepted back into the range. Look at the bearish retest on that value area high. These are not just made up levels, guys. These do hold weight, right? You get accepted into the value area high. You can't break out at that point. You're expecting the next highest probability area to be the POC, right? If we cannot hold this POC, I mean, just in general, your Fibonacci retracements, your golden pocket 786 of the entire move from the low to the high. Golden pocket sits here between roughly 67 and 65 cents. Value area low 786 sits roughly between 61 and 59 cents, right? And the fact that we're accepted into this profile does mean that there might be a little bit more retracement to come here. Maybe into the golden pocket. I would prefer the value area low because, again, it's one of those situations where can you bounce off the golden pocket? Yes, but you're pretty much just like bouncing into resistance. And if you can't get above that POC, you're anticipating the value area low anyway. But this would still be considered a healthy pullback in my opinion, right? This is an area where you could put a higher low in at, right? And when we look at the money flow, 12-hour money flow coming out, red dot about to print, 10-hour money flow crossing over into the red here or about to cross over into the red. Could see a little bit more of a spill to the downside. So biggest key levels to watch on Cardano as of right now would be golden pocket, again, 67 to 65 cents. And then if we lose that golden pocket, again, it's not possible to bounce here. I would prefer to just get like a retracement and then a push into the 786 value area low. These are the biggest levels to watch. 786 value area low sits between about 62 and 60 cents, right? So once you lose that 786 though, you are going to be looking, you do have the value area high underneath you, right, as potential support. However, you know, if you do lose that 786, I am typically expecting a crack of structure to the downside, which would break you below this value area high. So, you know, that could bring you down to a very, very important macro level, which is the 786. I mean, this is, you know, from the last major pump to the upside. Yeah, I mean, we'll cross this bridge if and when we get there. But I would say personally, if you lose that 786, I would at least be looking to come down to the value area high at 52 cents. But still an opportunity to bounce there. You're just within your profile. You know, if I were looking at this just from a volume profile perspective, I would say, hey, guys, money flow's coming out. You've rejected the high, tap the POC. The overall anticipation, even if you bing bong around, would be to eventually visit that value area low. You just have to understand that golden pocket is an honorable mention. Not the best level in my opinion, but it is there. So there you go. But again, this is all in the, you know, you might say to yourself, well, okay, it's like we're going to go down, then we could bounce. It could get very confusing, but like long term, right? You know, my long-term sentiment remains the same. And I think you guys know what that is, right? Bullhorns, baby. All right, let's see. Yeah, also, obviously, like yesterday, same thing as yesterday, right? When we looked at the SPY, someone brought up the S&P. You know, we had a nice pop to the upside on the S&P, right? This obviously follows in on Bitcoin, and then we got a nice little dump. The Bitcoin obviously follows. So just, you know, to be honest, guys, you know, I've covered this many a times. If you overlay the S&P over Bitcoin, they essentially just track each other. I know the 4-year cycles are legit. I know the halving is real. But really, it's just following the macro economic cycle, right? And if you want, you could do this yourself. Go to the Bitcoin chart, put it on the weekly, overlay the S&P chart. it's very similar. I've looked at this on deep dives before to show you guys, like, 4-year cycle does mean something to me, but it's like if the stock market dumps, Bitcoin is very likely to follow, right? It's like that's just how the market moves. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Seth Shepard, said ADA will never get back to $3. I hope it does. I do hold Cardano. Let's take a look at Ondo. Shout out to Khan. We'll take a look at Ondo real quick. I do have it sitting here. So yeah, I mean, very similar to Cardano, right? Like we kind of just front ran that golden pocket. This makes me suspicious, right? It's not that you can't front run golden pockets, but it does make me suspicious of, I would say more often than not, I would say maybe 8 out of 10 times. If you front run a key level like that, especially if you have money flow coming out, which is that the case? Don't take my word for it, right? Is that the case? Yes, right? Like just simple yes. Front run the golden pocket, money flow still coming out. I mean, even if you got a bigger retracement here, I would still be very suspicious of lower highs and lower lows, just like on everything else based off money flow, but also the fact that like that would also enable you to come down and really tap into some of these key levels of support. I would say, zone number 1 sitting between the point of control and the golden pocket between about, 80 cents. I would say 79 cents is the POC, up to the top of the golden pocket at 83 cents. Lose the POC, 786 is your last level to bounce at. If you don't get the bounce there, you're looking down towards the value area low at 66. 0.6627 to 0.6585. That's what I would look at. Pretty simple there, right? Very similar to Cardano, right? Like just kind of front ran that golden pocket. Very suspicious to me. Very suspicious, especially with money flow coming out. I'm going to leave it there. Very simple on Ondo there. And at the end of the day, is the worst thing in the world to come down to that value area low? Not really, but I mean, you really want to, if you want this to continue up, you want that low, you want that high, you want that higher low to come in on the golden pocket or the 786. Lose that 786, it's like that sentiment has to change, right? Hopefully we don't have to deal with that, but those are the key levels down below. Watch the 786. That's your line in the sand in order to, if broken, come down to the value area low. But until then, you can look for a potential bounce there. Hopefully if we come down there, things are looking a little bit better. We can see money flow coming back up. But yeah, I mean, it's not even like this 12-hour money flow, unless this fakes out, guys, like this hasn't even crossed into the red yet, right? Like if you look at another significant money flow crossover, like back here, right? It's like, money flow's coming out. You get the lower high, the lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Look how long that money flow wave lasted, right? And we have just gotten, a significant money flow wave. We need this to not spend a lot of time in the red. If this is going to be another significant money flow wave, I mean, that looks kind of bearish in my opinion, just from like a binary perspective, right? So we really need, like, if that money flow crosses into the red or just continues down, like, you need to get the bounce, and then, like, you need this money flow to kind of just, like, fake back out into the green. It is possible to see, right? Especially if we are going to get rate cuts and alt season, right? You are going to just generally see during that phase of the market that money flow does spend a lot more time in the green than the red, right? You will see more fake outs into the red for continuations back up into the green in those massively bullish environments, rather than, in a bear market where you spend a lot more time in the red. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking at. Key levels and lines in the sand and overall value area. Value area low sitting at 66 cents, POC sitting at 79 cents, value area high, which we are rejecting, is sitting at about $1.16, right? Value area low, POC, lose the POC. Value area high, back to the POC, lose the POC, value area low. That is your overall anticipated journey through the volume profile. Hoping you can hold that 786 though. So there you go. That's what I'd be looking at on Ondo. Let's see. Shout out to Seth Shepard, said if I get a kitten, I'm going to name it Ada or Gizmo. Shout out to Seth. Those are two very good names. I like both of those, actually. What is it? Ada was like the first female programmer or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really just a LARPing nerd. I'm not really a nerd, guys. Anyway. All right, let's continue on. Bitcoin back above 114K. All right, I'll take that. I will take that. It's just like still pretty much. I mean, I think it's like $5 higher than it was before, but yeah, we're above 114K. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, nice bounce off the 786. Pull up that setup that we had in the premium here. Where's it at? Oh my God, that microphone just tickled my nose hair. Where's it at? There it is. What the heck? Oh, it's super small. That's hilarious. I'll have to extend that out a little bit. All right, so long play now, pretty good. Let's go. I mean, again, definitely a dangerous long in my opinion, but we're back in profit, baby. Let's go. Let's see. Shout out to Eugene says, I got no hate because I got an Ada bag. Let's go. Shout out to Eugene. Let's get it, baby. Ada Lovelace was an English mathematician and writer. Shout out to Seth Shepard. I was extremely not close to getting that right. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for that, Seth. Was she not a programmer? I thought it was like the first female programmer or something like that. But let's continue on. Ada under 80 cents on Ondo under 80 cents on buying. Shout out to Michael S. Yeah, guys. I mean, listen, not financial advice here, but I like to be as like transparent as possible on these live streams. Like, my base case is the final phase of the bull market's coming in, right? Alt season will come with rate cuts. But nobody can argue, right, that can change if rate cuts don't come in, if we get a black swan, if something geopolitically happens, if something happens we get unexpected news or something like that, right? This can change. And I think a lot of people will listen to somebody online and think it's like, well, hey, this guy's confident, so it's like, it must happen, right? And I don't want anyone to fall into that trap. I am just here to share with you guys. Obviously, we are right way more than we're wrong, right? We've made some amazing calls on this channel, as you know. But, there is nothing that makes anything guaranteed in this market. And this is like one of the major things that is really going to help you actually make money in this market rather than round trip your bags. And my goal with this YouTube channel is to help you actually make money. And I think we do a good job of it based off the super chats that we get and the chats in the free chat about how we help people make money here, learning how to make money trading Bitcoin, whether price goes up or down. But I don't want anyone to fall into that trap of like, it's like when everyone calls for 100K back here, right? Like if you see signs on the chart, if you see something that you disagree with, right? Like everyone and their grandma was calling for 100K. Why did I not agree with that? It's just because what I was looking at on the charts did not call for 100K. It called for a very likely bear market to come in. And I'm not saying that I called the tippy top right here. That's very difficult to do. But once you get a little bit of development on that price action and you can see the high time frame indicators start to bleed out with money flow, such as the weekly, right? There were, once we got down into this consolidation at about 47K, it was very, very clear to me that we were going to enter a bear market. And I just know how people don't like to hear this because when I talked about this, I got a ton of hate. It was like the first time I ever had to deal with like just people being like, this guy's an idiot. But I actually had some of those people DM me after the fact and thanked me for looking at actual information and not just senselessly calling for all-time highs to get hit again just for no reason. But just because I was right here, like there is a chance that there is no alt season. I don't want anyone to ever take what I say that take it as it's guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Just because I'm making that bet does not mean it has to play out. And I'm prepared to take the risk that I'm taking. I can afford to get stopped out and lose the money that I'm risking. It is all planned, right? This does not mean that I'm just going to hold all my spot bags and then just wait for alt season and get wrecked if it doesn't happen. So I always have to give you guys the bullish case and the bearish case because that is just the fact of the matter. That is the way the market moves. And nobody knows if 155K is going to get hit, if 137K is going to get hit, or if the top is in, right? Even to call the top being in here, it's, people call the top every major pump. People call the top here. They're like, are you an idiot? This looks exactly like 2021. And then like when we started making this top, they're like, are you an idiot? This looks exactly like 2021. And it's like, you really have to understand what you're looking at here because there's no guarantee to go to 100K. There's no guarantee that the top isn't in right now. Now, there's nothing on the charts to me that say to me that it is definitely the top being in. And I know a lot of people will say that, right? The same people that say the top is in here, the top is in here, the top is in here. Eventually, that person's going to be right? But I will not call the top until I see a legitimate sign of weakness, which we do not have on the chart right now. So anytime you tune in here, you are going to get 100% information, data-based analysis, not opinion, right? It might be my opinion based off the TA, but it's not just like my gut feeling or me, trying to get people to click the video or me just trying to give people hopium. I genuinely want to help people make money, and that's why we do this, and that's why I'm always going to give you the up and down scenario because that is the way the market moves. Anyone who's telling you, oh, the guarantee, people are saying the top was guaranteed in, you're an idiot if you think the top isn't in here, right? What happens? They were just wrong, right? Like the people who are super, super decisive, whether it's your friend, your aunt, your uncle, your parents, whoever it is, right? Whoever, right? You have to understand, like, why are they saying that? Do they have a legitimate reason for that, right? Because those people are just going to do that. Just like, in the bear market, everyone's like, this is the bottom, this is the bottom, this is the bottom, right? Like, I just sit on my hands and I wait for an actual confirmation, right, which we did get down here. And this is why I love the charts, right? The charts are the truth every single time. That's why I go by them. But anyway, let's continue on. Shout out to Sid. Said, you're great, Frankie. Shout out to Sid. I appreciate you, bro. You're great, Sid. You're great. Thank you for being here. Always a clear analysis when watching your stream. Shout out to Sid. That makes me very happy because we do look at very confusing stuff. So I try to break it down as simple as possible. Come on, Bitcoin. Push up. Push up. Do something. Somebody wake this thing up. Somebody get Golden on the line. Golden, wake this thing up. All right, let's continue on here. Seth Shepard says BTC trading at 114.43. Quick update. Shout out to Seth. We finna be rich. Shout out to BTC Bull. Let's go. Or BTC Bill. Not Bill. I guess BTC Bull as well. All right. Let's see. Yeah, nobody wants to hear that they might lose tons of money. Yeah, shout out to Crypto Night. And that's just goes to show, like, and I had this same approach when I got into crypto. It's like, or any kind of investment, right? Like, nobody wants to understand that they could lose a lot of money, right? But understanding that you can lose a lot of money is what is going to help you take profits along the way, right? So just keep that in mind, right? If you don't want to round trip your bags, if you round trip your bags last cycle, number one, don't feel bad. People do that. I feel like it's a rite of passage when you get into crypto to round trip your bags because when it goes up, it feels like it's never coming down. It's easy to hold your bag all the way to the bottom, so don't feel bad about it. But, it's a lot of people fall into that trap, right? And they just think like, oh, if I buy this, it's going to keep going up. And then they have everybody online, everyone and their grandma saying like, we're all going to make it. We're all going to make it. And the fact of the matter here is, guys, I am all here for we're all going to make it. I'm here. Let's go. Let's all make it together. But when it comes to crypto trading, buying and selling, right, like it could not be further from the truth. It is a PvP game. If you're making money, someone else is losing money, right? By literal fact of the matter, not everyone's going to make it, right? The people who sell in time will make it, and then other people are going to get stuck holding that bag. So, from a logical standpoint, from a money-making standpoint, it's actually a bad attitude to have, right? This is like a community thing that people, probably developers bring up, right, or project owners make up to get people to, hold their project. But, it's, if you find yourself getting emotional about an investment, like, oh, XRP has to go to this price because XRP army, and like, I'm in the XRP army, right? But like, you can't just, just prey on that being the case. You have to make, when it comes to money, especially people's money, like you have to make logical decisions and you have to manage the risk, or if you don't manage the risk, you're going to wind up round tripping your bags. So yeah, I'm just speaking from experience, guys. I've gotten wrecked plenty of times, right? I'm not just like making this up. I've been winning this whole time, right? I've gotten wrecked before. So yeah, that's why I like to share my experience with you guys, because if you can learn from some of the crazy mistakes that I've made and it helps you skip that part of the process, I've done my job. So yeah. It's almost screenshot time. Yeah, easy top signal. When you screenshot your portfolio, take some profits. I've actually screenshotted the exact tops before, back in the day. So keep it in mind. Shout out to TDK, said, where's the puppy? Come here, mama. Come here. Puppy. Puppy. Do the cute puppy face. Do the cute puppy face. Do it. Good girl. Good girl. Bing bong for the puppy. Good girl. Shout out to Ollie. Let's go. But anyway, guys, let's jump back in here. I'll take a look at one more altcoin. We do have to get ready for Billy Goat Tales here in a few minutes. Let's see. LDO. I think I saw a lot of people looking at LDO or looking for LDO. I don't think we have an LDO chart. If I am... I believe this is what people were looking for. I'm going to come steal that dog. Shout out to Tony D. It is not my dog, guys. I am babysitting. I wish it was. That's not a goat. Shout out to K Diggity. That is not Phoebe. That is Ollie. Phoebe is sleeping. This is like her nap time. She sleeps by my feet constantly. Unless we talk about her, then she wakes up. And there she is. She just woke up. But anyway, let's continue on. Shout out to K Diggity. Taking a look at Lido here. Again, I don't think we have a Lido chart here. Take a look at the Binance, Bybit. Yeah, we don't really have anything here. So let me take a look. Shout out to TDK. I love TDK always shouting out the dogs. Let's get it. All right. So I will definitely take this as our upper profile. Obviously, we're pretty far away from this at this point, but it is important to understand where that big volume profile is, right? And you can even see the respect here. Deviate below, you make a little bit of a range, you impulse to the upside. Where is price going to gravitate to? Oh my God, it's a lost puppy. It's a lost puppy. It's going to gravitate to where the food is. The food is inside of the balanced area. This is why when we deviate above the highs, we look for shorts, because it's like, hey, you deviate above the highs, this is overvalued. Now we're going to look for a retracement. If we get stuck in the value area, we are looking for the POC and the value area low. Go below the lows. This is undervalued or cheap prices where you want to look for longs to get back into the range. Go to the value area low, POC, value area high, so on and so forth. And you can even see here on the big rotation down, you created a little bit of a range here. Once you impulsed out, where does price gravitate to? It always seeks out the fair value. Or if you look at this from a visible range volume profile perspective, you could even just look at the high volume nodes, right? If you don't want to pull the fixed range volume profiles, you could just say to yourself, right, let's hide this volume profile. You could just pull this up on your chart and say, well, hey, if I am bing-bonging, right? If I'm bing-bonging around down here, is this not going to load? Come on, volume. Well, I'll just draw it out, right? That volume profile is going to give you a massive high volume area here with a big gap right here, right? And then you'll have a little high volume node down here. So you'd say to yourself, right, these high volume nodes act as a magnet for price, right? So even if you're not looking at it from a volume, fixed range volume profile perspective, just look at where the volume is on the visible range. And you could say to yourself, well, hey, if we can break out of this range, price is probably going to impulse into that high volume node. And if I come to the current price action, right, you can see, not on my, there you go, right? You impulse out of here, you have a big gap, and where's that high volume node? It's all up here. So price impulses and gets sucked up towards that high volume node. It's a very simple way to look at the chart, right? And then when we break down the visible ranges, right, that's where we can kind of get a little bit more tactical with it and have the actual key levels and say, well, hey, if we impulse, we know the low is here. Once we flip that, the next likely place for price to go is the POC. And you can always look for the full fill of the range, but you're not always going to get that rotation, right? In this case, maybe we had high time frame money flow coming out or something like that, in which case you would be looking for a lower high and a lower low, which I would assume maybe this full golden pocket retracement. You didn't get that. Pull it from the lower high. There's your golden pocket 786, confluent with the point of control of the range. Bada boom. High, low, or high, low, lower, high, lower, low, right? So again, it's going to be context-based, but in this same manner, right, we can say to ourselves, well, hey, where is all the volume sitting, right? And I'll even just use the visible range here real quick. Right, well, hey, we're sticking around here on this high volume node. I could say, just in general, if we can crack back up here and start cracking out of the same level we cracked out of here, right, break these highs, we might be able to get a quick move into the value area low, sitting at $1.66. That's what I would look for, right? Today, money flow still in the green, VWAP attempting to come up here. And you can just see that beautiful low volume gap here, right? Fast moves down through the gap oftentimes lead to fast moves up through the gap, right? Fast move up leads to fast move down. Fast move down leads to fast move up, right? There's no volume here. There's no interest here, right? So when you get above this, boop, oftentimes you will snap up towards that high volume node. So when we look at this now, I would say long term, $1.65. If you could crack these highs here, I would say $1.27. Start cracking above these highs at about $1.27. High volume node, right? And I know it's confusing. High volume node, what is he even talking about? All I'm talking about, high volume node, is just this chunk of big volume, right? This is a strong magnet. This is a strong magnet. Price sticks to these levels. Sticks to these levels. Sticks to these levels. Sticks to these levels. In the gap, price shoots through, shoots through, shoots through, shoots through, right? That's how it works. So I would say if you could break this high volume node, meaning just getting above this big chunk of volume, essentially, in layman's terms, right? You could look for that fast move up to the value area low. And then at that point, you could look for the reclaim. Hopefully at that point, we can have money flow coming up in a very big way. You could see here money flow is in the red on the last approach here on the 5-day. So it's like, is that continuation up? Likely, maybe not. But if we can get that money, the higher time frame money flow to cross over into the green as we reclaim this value area low, that's where you could potentially look for the full fill of the range. Now, locally, I will give you some local levels as well. Obviously, you are building out a little bit of a range here, right? So I'll just give you these local levels. But I would really be paying attention to the higher time frames here for something like LDO. I would say right here is your key volume profile. So locally, yeah, 12-hour money flow and red dot looking to print. What happens here? Even locally, just like on the higher time frames that I just explained, with the deviation above the high, full fill of the range. Same thing down here. I don't know why those MPOCs are lit up right now, but deviation above the high. Look at that. Yeah, it's crazy too because it's like what you rejected on the way up. It's like if we flipped here at that moment, right, you probably would have gotten that fast move up, but you got the rejection, right? So right now, you're back below the value area low. You got a little bounce. POC is the next likely place for price to go. I mean, this is the 5th time that we've said lose the value area high, go to the POC. You could just see how often that will play out. And I would say just generally, with longer term, even if you get a little bit of a retracement, if you can't get out of this profile, you could lose that POC and fill that range in full because money flow is coming out still. 10-hour money flow probably crossing into the red or about to cross into the red, I guess, right here. So yeah, I would still be looking and cautious for lower highs and lower lows. And the line in the sand here, to be honest, is basically the POC, which is also confluent with the 786, which is the key level we looked at on every other altcoin, right? If we want a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high locally here, you have to hold above that 786. If we get back down here and lose that 786 POC, I'm looking for a bigger drop to the downside. Now, it wouldn't necessarily mean that you have to look directly down towards this value area low because I'm sure we have bigger Fibonacci retracements here. Yeah, so this is a golden pocket as well. So this is nice support, honestly. But again, doesn't mean it has to be the bottom, right? You could still just put in a lower high, lose the golden pocket. I'd be looking down. Other than the value area low, this 786 at 76 cents is really the only level to watch, in my opinion. I don't know where the daily MPOCs are. I'm not going to spend the time, but we do have to hop on to Billy Goat Tails very soon here. But that's what I'd be looking at for LDO. Long-term and short-term, you could screenshot these levels to get this volume profile on your chart and that 786. I'll leave my cursor there so that level is there. You could screenshot it and get that all on your chart. But I would say overall anticipation based off money flow coming out very clearly here, guys. You have to be not worried, but careful of lower highs and lower lows. If you break the golden pocket, 786 would be next at 76 cents. I would expect some kind of a reaction there. But if money flow is not really picking up nicely on the higher time frames from this level on a bounce, you lose this, you're looking down to the value area low. I mean, that's just the way the price is very likely to move. So we'll see what happens when we come back down to these key levels, but that's what I'm looking at on LDO. And that's all the time I got for tonight's live stream, guys. I'm going over to Billy Goat Tails here in a few minutes. So come meet us over there, and shout out to Billy. He said he'd give away a free month of the Premium Discord to one lucky CandleMafia member if you're in that space. So shout out to the CandleMafia. Shout out to K Diggity. Shout out to ADD Dad. Shout out to Jesse. Shout out to Sandburger. Shout out to Sandburger. Says ETH be pumping 4K tomorrow for real. No cap. Shout out to Sandburger. I hope so. That would be nice. To not have to get the bigger retracement on Ethereum would be very, very, very nice. Shout out to Ogre. Shout out to Redman. Shout out to Chatmaster. Shout out to David. And last but not least, shout out to Sid, All Set, and Eugene, and Johnny December. That's all the time we got for today's live stream, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, what the heck are you doing? Do not miss the next move on Bitcoin. Hopefully my long continues to play out. But yeah, we'll update you on that tomorrow, and I will see you guys in a few minutes on Billy Goat Tails. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy. On the road, here we go, yeah we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, man, we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy. On the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on the road, hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put